Can you lose by following God? I'm not talking about following people. I'm not talking about following your friends. I'm not talking about following different preachers. I'm not talking about following other men. Can you lose by following God? He created the heavens and the earth. He's the greatest, and he loves us so much. How could you lose if you followed God? I follow him anyway. Father, I stretch my hands to you.
Life like this is what you like. Try to live your life right. People really know you're pushing buttons like typewrite. This is like a movie, but it's really very lifelike. Every single night, right? Every single fight, right? I was looking at the gram and I don't even like life. I was screaming at my dad.
What's up, y'all? What's up? Go get your drinks, your snacks, go use the bathroom. We gonna start in like 3-4 minutes. So we gonna start then. Everything gonna be about Steven Crowder and Daily Wire. And another video literally dropped 15 minutes before this. So it's gonna be a long one. Just get your drinks and your snacks. It's gonna be a minute.
Stretch my hands to you. I need some joy for the weak. I need some peace for the weak. Father, I stretch. Oh God, I've come to the end of the rope and I need you. Stretch my hands to you. Father, I stretch. Stretch my hand to you. Stretch my hands to you. I'm in need of a touch. I'm in need of a blessing. Father, I stretch. Stretch my hands to you. I need you, Lord. Father, I stretch. You're my help today, Father. Stretch my hands to you. You've been my peace. You've been my joy. I stretch my hands. Father, I stretch. I need your love on today, God. Hallelujah. Stretch my hands to you. Father, I stretch.
Alright, y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready to get this started? Might as well. This is gonna be so long. Not really. It ain't gonna be like Tuesday. It's not gonna be like Tuesday. We go ahead and slow that up real quick. But what's going on, y'all? Welcome. This is a very impromptu stream. Didn't think I'd be streaming today, but let me tell y'all what happened yesterday. I was gaming. I was on Twitch, right? And when I got off, I was supposed to do all these reactions, and something was like, nah, you about to close all this down, and you gonna go in the back. And I was like, okay. Whatever you say, voice. And I cut everything off, and I get in the back, and the first thing I see is Daily Wire did a response to Steven Crowder's video, and the Steven Crowder video, literally, I was going to react to that last night. So I was like, glad I didn't do this, and I saw how long that was. I was like, then something was like, hey, you should make this a live stream tomorrow. You ain't doing nothing. So I was like, you know what? You You're right, voice. You're right. That's how we got here right now. That's how we got here. So, if you don't know what's happening, Steven Crowder dropped a video. He's very vague. He was talking about he was offered a slave contract and big tech. Like, a lot of these conservative media platforms collude with big tech as well, which, yeah, probably. I mean, we all probably knew that inside of our brains. But he never stated names. And what ended up happening yesterday, Daily Wire came out and was like, yeah, that was us. He was talking about us. We gave him an offer. We offered him $50 million. And they were like, it wasn't a contract. It was a term offer sheet. He was supposed to negotiate. He didn't. And that video is like 52 minutes long, right? I didn't watch any of these. Then 15 minutes before hopping on here, Steven Crowder drops a response video to that. And 15 minutes long, and in a nutshell, somebody claims, on his end, he claims it wasn't about the money. I don't know. We gonna watch all of this together, and then we can collectively see what's going on, what they're talking about. But this is just way easy. I feel like this is way easier because as long as all these videos were, this would have got chopped into so many parts. It probably would have been all my video slots today and all my video slots Friday. But see, now we just gonna knock it out in the live stream and keep it pushing. But let's get into the first video, which is from Steven Crowder, and then we'll just go from there.
So, StopBigCon.com now exists to begin with. It's been a while. Either this has to stop, or I'm going to have to stop. Either this, what I'm about to discuss, has to stop, or I don't know. This may just not be for me anymore. So let me explain. Give me a few minutes of your time because context matters here. I ask that you don't skip ahead. Won't take very long. This has been a long time coming. This is a conversation that I've actively avoided, sidestepped, and I've hoped and prayed that it not be necessary behind the scenes for a long while, but that's no longer possible. So if you've watched for the last decade, you know that I've always made it clear that we here at Mug Club are in the business of serving you, the viewer, you watching, listening right now. I've also made it clear that I wouldn't be in the business of attacking other conservatives, regardless of disagreements or personal issues. And I've always explained my logic was relatively simple. I believe that the world was better with more voices out there rather than less, regardless of minute differences, considering the magnitude of the battle that we are genuinely fighting for our country right now. But for the first time, I have to say that I believe many of those in charge in the right-leaning media are actually at odds with what's best for you, the viewer, the customer, and more importantly, the country. We here at Mug Club, we thought that we were all in this together, that we were fighting the media, entertainment, industrial complex. We thought that we were all genuinely taking it to big tech. But too many of those in charge of the big conservative platforms are verifiably in bed with them. Big tech is in bed with Big Con. The people you thought, the people I thought were fighting for you, a lot of it has been a Big Con. Now, I'm specifically avoiding naming names or going after individuals in this video because I genuinely hope that those I'm addressing, and you know who you are, have a change of heart. It's never too late to do the right thing. Guys, this is a genuine plea. We can all do better. We can all do better. It doesn't have to be this way, and please don't make me have to provide receipts. Now, to the others out there who have now been able to verify, have been locked into exploitative contracts that I have the luxury of not having to sign, which is why I'm doing this. Those of you out there who've been locked into this and you know what I'm talking about, stay tuned. I've got something for you before this video is done. So there are a few points to address. Now, many, but not all of the suits running the business of big conservative, Big Con, at best don't share your values and at worst are taking advantage of your good graces.
I mean, to be fair, we knew that though. Like we knew that collectively, because There's Republicans that will sell us out. They'll vote for things that's against our morals and values. I don't know why he's so shocked about this.
And as I've experienced it behind the scenes, I've watched our country be harmed as a result. So, Mug Club. Professionally, it's meant everything to us here. Personally, too, but professionally, you are the entire reason for your ability, to create this kind of content truly independently for the last 6 years. When I started doing, right-leaning, like comedy, entertainment videos in 2009, maybe it was 2008, I really didn't have a plan. I didn't know the blueprint because there was no blueprint. I didn't know the ceiling because no one with this kind of content had ever really even tried it. It was you, Mug Club, you watching, supporting, who created the ceiling, and you made it clear that all of you were going to keep raising it. All I knew back then was that I was a conservative, I was a Christian, and there was nothing out there for someone like me. Not on cable, not on radio, certainly not on YouTube. And back then, that was really the only video platform. Live streaming wasn't really even a thing. All I wanted to do was to set out to create the kind of content, the kind of show that I always wished had existed when I was growing up. And I hoped that there would be enough of you out there like me. Here's the thing. I was told that there weren't. I was told by the powers that be that you didn't exist. I was told that the only way to make a living in this business was to cater to older conservative generations, and that comedy, that entertainment, that edgy, quote-unquote, content didn't work on the right side of the spectrum. An entertainment show would never work. You, all of you, are the only reason that we here were even remotely vindicated. And Mug Club sealed it. I remember exactly where I was when I thought up the idea of Mug Club. I remember who I was with. I remember what I was eating. I remember why. I could see the writing on the wall back then, the big tech censorship on the horizon, the diminishing advertising revenue day by day, and I knew full well that demonetization from these platforms, it was inevitable.
Facts.
But I wasn't really sure that this would work. At that point in time, getting anyone to subscribe to anything was pretty much impossible. Everything on the internet was basically free except for pornography. Even, Netflix, the only player in the space at the time between shipping DVDs of Poltergeist 3, they were struggling with online streaming. But I found a great partnership back then, a partnership with a company called CRTV, which later purchased The Blaze and used that name going forward. And on election night, 2016, so many of you signed up that the back end of our site crashed. We couldn't handle it. And it only grew from there. Now, I want to be clear about something. This video here, it's not about The Blaze. When they were purchased by CRTV, the company's goals, their vision, simply grew further apart from mine, from ours here. It just wasn't the right fit. Yeah, I wasn't thrilled about some things and the handling of Mug Club leaving, and that's why we launched mugclubforever.com, where you can sign up just to be able to reach you. This really isn't about that, so I want to create some separation here. Business relationships end all the time. That's business. But I was in a period to field offers from other people, other key players in this movement. They flooded in. Now, before you guess who it is, before you start trying to do some Sherlock Holmes work, there are far more people beneath the tip of the iceberg than you know about who are trying to get into this space. There are more than you would probably assume. So I went into free agency. I looked over the offers. And I saw the clause come out. And I don't just mean unreasonable demands for control, but what I would argue are immoral terms that actually punish conservative content creators on behalf of big tech. And that's something that I just couldn't unsee. And I want to let you know, it's not the exception. It's the rule. Kids out there coming up. We need to build a bench here in this movement. It's almost impossible. Don't sign these contracts. I now know what you are signing out there. I have the luxury of not having to. I don't have to be here. I don't have to say this. Please, don't sign this. Certainly not without professional legal counsel representation. Do not sign something that includes, let me go through this. Effectively, full ownership of all your social media platforms, channels, and
All right, because I don't know where he started at, but we just gonna read it ourselves, right? Additional blank X rights. Now, Daily Wire came out and said this was theirs, I guess. So it says merch rights. Blank will maintain the exclusive right to create and sell Crowder and Crowder content branded merchandise. All remuneration for the blank and exploitation of these rights is included in the fee. Email list. Blank will maintain the exclusive right to manage, grow, and monetize all Crowder email lists during the term. All remuneration for the exploitation of these rights is included in the fee. Blank will have the exclusive right to manage, curate, and monetize Crowder's official Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Snapchat, Rumble, and other social media accounts, excluding Crowder's existing personal Twitter and Instagram accounts. During the term, additionally, Blank will have the perpetual and exclusive right to create, own, manage, curate, yada, yada, yada. This sounds like a, if you've ever seen people like in the music business, it just sound like a record deal where they try to get a 360 deal off of you and own like everything. That's what this sounds like. And for him to test free agency just to see what was out there, I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Interesting that he's dropping this video letting other people know, like, don't sign these contracts. But that's just what it sounds like. It sounds like he's about to go independent regardless, which nothing wrong with that. That's like the best way to go anyways. But this is kind of like what record companies do to artists.
Perpetuity, the rights to your content, name, image, likeness, even the ones that you've built. Don't sign contracts out there that include multi-million-dollar penalties for different. Let me read you an example of what I mean. And this would be if it was me. If Crowder fails to deliver a monthly content in any month or any of the quarterly content in the corner, including any and all ad reads, and by the way, all these contracts came with 3, 4, 5 ad reads per show, which would fundamentally change what this show is. Got to get those dollar bills.
Yeah, it's a business.
If I failed to do that, it would be a $250,000 reduction.
Hold on, where'd you see that at? Oh, he down here. See, this is why we're going to stop and read this real quick. If Crowder fails for any reason to deliver 192 episodes of The Daily Show, including any and all ad reads and blank promo reads approved and deemed satisfactory by the company, $100,000 reduction in the fee per instance. So, basically, that's for daily content. Now, what he's talking about, the monthly and quarterly content. If he fails to deliver monthly content in any month or any of the quarterly content in any quarter, including any and all ad reads deemed satisfactory by the company, you have a $250,000 reduction in the fee per instance. So for clarity, anytime Crowder misses a single example of the monthly and or quarterly content without written blank approval, the fee will be reduced by $250,000. And then for annual content, if he fails to deliver annual content in any year, including any and all ad reads, deemed satisfactory, blah, blah, blah. It's the same up there. Now it says there's $1 million reduction in the fee per instance. Then under reset, it says the fee reduction calendar resets each year. And then disability. In the event of temporary disability or serious illness that prevents Crowder from performing, the fee will be reduced on a pro rata basis, not subject to the fee reduction schedule above.
In fee per quarter. If, let's say, we did do everything per quarter, but annually maybe missed something, like let's say we went and did a Change My Mind instead of a daily show, which of course requires a lot more work, it'd be a separate $1 million penalty for that if you miss a single piece of content. And the amount of content required is not in line with, frankly, it's worse than Disney, it's worse than ABC, it's worse than NBC, it's worse than CBS. This is ownership of you and everything that you do. But here's, just to drive it home, don't sign something that has another $100,000 daily penalty if it's not signed off on beforehand. You get hit by a car, you have a sick day, you could lose $100,000 a day.
Also, this is interesting to know because, like, Matt Walsh has missed so many days, like at the beginning of last year. What his contract look like? It's like, are you getting hit with 100 racks daily? But then again, okay, Matt Walsh missed days, but they still had content to go up on the days he missed. So I wonder if it's like, as long as you have something to go up in its place, like how I told you guys I have stuff in my archives. So if I like miss a video drop, y'all don't miss a video. Yeah, there's still something for you to watch in that time slot. I wonder if that's what it is. What's up, Kit Kat's Arts and Crafts? I'm just calling you Kit Kat just to shorten it. He says, I believe for him, it really isn't about the money. If he wants to make his own content, earn less, and do less ad reads to make his viewers happy, then he should be allowed to, but it's not about money. I don't think it's about money either. This is the first video, so apparently he has a second video that dropped like 30 minutes ago at this point. But that everybody says that was the gist of the second video. We just gonna go in order because I haven't watched any of them. But yeah, it sounds like he just wants to be independent, and there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, I'm the person where going independent is always made the most sense to me in everything I've ever done, outside of like having a 9-to-5 job, right? So that's the best route to take. And earlier, like I said, when he read the contract, it sounded shocked. He was like, look how this sounds. They want to own everything. It's like, it sounds like a record deal. So when you hear artists be like, don't ever sign these record deals, stay independent, and you see people that are just like, oh, I'm going to sign it anyways. That's probably what's happening with all of this. Oh, there's the audio of Ben Shapiro calling him a slave worker? Yo. All right. That's crazy.
Hey, anyone wonder why there's burnout in this? Anyone wonder why you have kids come up and they leave?
That's wild.
And never to come back? You think if you had that kind of a penalty, you think if someone said, hey, we're going to penalize you $10,000 every day you miss coming into work, you think you'd be stressed? This is worse than the...
I don't know if I'd be stressed. If I had to come, if it was like you come here every day or you get hit with a penalty, it's like for 50 million? I'd be cool with that. I'd be cool with that. I think my only thing is the ad reads, which these aren't contracts, these are term offer sheets, so you can negotiate all of this. Say, for example, I always mention Daily Wire a lot. Because one day they're going to bring me on for an interview or something. They're going to bring me on for something, right? Say, for example, I get big enough and Daily Wire reaches out with the same thing and be like, hey, we want to offer you a term sheet, right, to negotiate. I would be like, look, I know y'all have to do the ad breaks. I'm cool with that for 50 mil. My only thing is, can I pick the companies? Because some of their stuff be really stupid. And if I myself personally wouldn't use it or do it, there's just no point. There's no point. I got to make sure, like, not only would I use it, y'all would use it too. So if I can pick the companies that's coming in, that'd be cool. But I already said in the beginning, if y'all go back to my earlier videos, before I planned my thing out. I already mapped it out. At some point, I'm going to have to leave YouTube. And I already have plans to create my own channel like Kev on Stage did. And when that happens, like, I'm still going to do certain stuff on you. I'm not going to just get rid of the channel, but a lot of original content and things is going to go on my own channel. And it's going to be like an actual legit channel. That, like, if you're on like the Google Home and Apple Home and all that, you could just scroll and be like, oh, it's your girl Sane got a channel. You can just click on it, download it, and you'll see everything. Y'all will see. It's gonna happen. It's gonna take a while, but it's gonna happen. Yup. Saying on Daily Wire is at some point, or at least Gothics. Oh, yo. Speaking of Gothics, do you know she retweeted my video yesterday that I did when she was on Amela's show? She retweeted it and she started following me. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. I'm gonna take that as God, throwing me an alley-oop. I just gotta I just gotta dunk it. Whenever it happens, I just gotta dunk it. It's gonna happen. And then and real quick, Ruin Leon, me and him are supposed to play Fall Guys together because he was talking mess in Gothic's chat. So at some point, I told him I was free today or tomorrow. He did not hit me up today. So maybe tomorrow or maybe next week, whenever it happens. I know I don't play games on this channel anymore, but I promise y'all I'm streaming it. Because when does that happen? Like Ruin Leon, if y'all don't know who he is, I've reacted to his content before on here. He's a big YouTuber. He got like 200-something thousand stuff. I'm streaming it. I don't care if y'all like games or not.
The left frames their contracts. Again, of course I didn't sign any of these things. But I now know what other kids are signing out there. And here's the worst part. Yeah, that's terrible. I think it's, I just think that's wrong to treat people that way. But this is where, in going through this, and I needed to take some time because, look, I've always tried to be a happy warrior, and I want to go back to that. I haven't been happy for a while. To be really, I haven't been happy for a while because when you know what goes on behind these scenes, and you see how many people are complicit, it creates an air of hopelessness. It really does. Where you think the people who are supposed to be linking arms and fighting with you, fighting for you, want to punish you. So here's the worst part. Do not, kids, under any circumstances, sign a contract with people who claim to be conservative, but will penalize you 25%.
So I'm not leaving YouTube. I'm not leaving YouTube. At some point as I grow because of my content, I'm going to have to leave. So we know how Steven Crowder, YouTube, like they demonetized him at one point. They actually like got rid of his account, so he was only live streaming over on Rumble because all these companies are very liberal. Like you can't really say a lot that you want to say. And even though I'm monetized now, a lot of my videos still get demonetized because they just don't like the content that I'm talking about. So I'm not going to full on leave. I'm just going to create my own channel off the platform and bring you guys over there. I'm going to figure out how to get my own advertisers. So hopefully it could be a free channel for y'all. I would prefer it that way if I can get the proper advertisers to just pay me. Because I'd rather a big company pay me than y'all pay like $5 or $10 a month for an app just to get like original content. So
Percent for any demonetization or sponsor boycott. Look, let me read this to you. If any of the major platforms, oh no, sorry, that's the second one. Let me go back to the first one. There's another 20%. It's 45% if you get a content strike. Let's start with the demonetization. If blank is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of the advertising partners,
oh yeah, I saw this.
The company is not able to replace them within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25%. That's a sponsorship boycott. So that's saying, hey, liberals, boycotts work. They work on our guys. We'll punish them for you. Let me go on. Specifically, YouTube demonetization. If any of the major platforms issues a content strike such that Crowder cannot be monetized on such platform, and the company is not able to resolve the issue within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25% moving forward. Yeah. Now, I thought this was a mistake.
What's
because,
going on,
you know,
Ryan? Thanks
these
for
people
joining.
maybe didn't know who I am, that we've been demonetized for 3 years. No, it was made very clear to me in no uncertain terms. This is what's sent out to everybody. And then if you get a strike, meaning a suspension,
What's going
another
on,
20%
Aaron? Thanks for joining. Thanks
reduction.
for joining us.
And then another 20% of it happens on Apple. And then another 10% of it happens on Facebook. And then another 10% of it happens on Spotify. Imagine you're deplatformed, as we've seen in the past, where all of the major entities decide to remove you in one day. Rather than having a conservative alternative, you would now be down to 5 to 15% of the revenue of your contract.
Yeah, that's wild.
Think about this for a second. Those in charge, the big conservative, the big con, and it really is the biggest con going right now, they're making it known in their contracts that they will enforce the guidelines of big tech and punish conservatives on their behalf. Don't worry, Wojcicki. Trust me, these conservatives will stay in line. If they get demonetized, we take away 25% of their operating budget. Take another 20% away if they get a hard strike. Hey, don't worry, Zuckerberg. We've got your back. Hope to see you at the UFC Apex. Let me ask you, can you imagine if this show not only was never permitted to take risks per our contract as it relates to big tech guidelines, like as far as the content guidelines, right? There's content guidelines and there's advertiser guidelines. Yeah. Can you imagine a world where this show could never take risks in relation to those guidelines on, say, things like mRNA injections, election integrity, take your pick. But one step further, if this show had to be advertiser friendly on YouTube, those guidelines pretty much read, don't say anything offensive ever. Well, what's offensive? Whatever is stuck in Susan Wojcicki's craw that day. I wish those at the top in big conservative, with, granted, yeah, a lot of the money, wanted to do better, but they don't. That's why I've created StopBigCon.com, and you can be a signatory, and our plans therein. Look, like I've said, I have the luxury of not signing this. I don't need it. I've been demonetized for years. We've adapted here precisely because of Mug Club. You know, the free content only exists because of those who subscribe. I've promised you we won't do more than one sponsorship spot per show. I will keep my word on that until this show ends. Why? Because it's designed for you. It's not designed for the sponsors. If it's 4, 5, 6, 7 sponsors, they're no longer the product, you're the product. So we've adapted here. I don't need this. We've been demonetized, and we're not beholden to sponsors who might get boycotted, because the sponsors that we have are going to go wherever we go anyway. We know that beyond any shadow of a doubt. That's the luxury of doing business honestly and loyalty. But to the kids out there coming up who don't have that luxury, please don't sign these. You can do better. We can all do better. And the only reason at this point for me to stay and continue doing what I've been doing is to make sure that we all do. That we all do better. So to everyone out there who refuses to sign or is under the cloud of these maybe not entirely enforceable contracts, look, here's your signal. Water's warm here. I'll produce your show. We'll produce your show. If there are enough of you out there, I will transition Mug Club into a full-scale network with independent content creators who don't want to be locked into slave contracts. Look, I understand that.
All right, with that being said, I'm gonna need y'all to start going to Steven Crowder's channel and be like, hey, check out It's Your Girl Stank. Go holler at her. Right, Nikki? It's like, hey, man, you want to start that network? Come on, bro.
Business relationships sometimes fall through. People don't see eye to eye. I get that. But there is a way to structure these contracts and a network. There's a world in which contracts and a network exists where everyone benefits with some semblance of fairness, transparency. There's no need to be enslaved like this. If you're out there right now and you're making content work, on whatever scale that may be, there are levels to this game. I understand that. And you'd like to have some backup. You'd like to have some brothers, sisters, Z's and arms, some security without losing your shirt. Send your email to creators@louderwithcrowder.com and we'll talk. You want a partnership? Great. Can probably work something out. You want the security of being...
Look, I'm gonna write this down real quick. Just don't judge me, you know, but if he gonna be funding it, then that's just better content for y'all. That's all that means. That's all that means. Okay, we're gonna get back to it.
An employee could probably make that work too. There are many ways to skin this cat. And you know what? If Mug Club or whatever network it becomes isn't for you, if this isn't the right home for you, we have lawyers and representation who will negotiate your contract for you with anyone else out there.
Do it. I'm gonna email him.
At half the market rate.
I'm gonna email him. We're gonna see what happens.
Why? Because I don't like this, and I'm going to end this. We all need to end this together. I have plenty of friends. I could use a few enemies. There is strength in numbers. And if you, watching right now, if you want a network that you can truly call your own, I just ask that you enter in your email at stopbigcon.com. Entering in your email makes you a signatory. It's a statement that you want not just Mug Club, but you want a network that does better. So it's either time for Mug Club to go big or it's time for me to go home. I can't change this all by myself. I really can't. And frankly, swimming upstream with just this one show, it's a futile endeavor. So either Mug Club grows and you start setting the standard for this movement, we right this ship, or you know what, I'll go back.
All right, God bless you, Kid Cats. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful night.
To doing maybe occasional videos, stand up. I don't need to do this. It's that simple. My life would be less complicated. I just want you to think about this for a second. There's a reason that if you felt this way, let me put it this way, and I've heard feedback from you. If you feel in your gut that a lot of conservative content out there feels homogenous, feels sanitized, feels like they're missing some key points. There's a reason for that. There's a reason that you often find yourself asking, hey, I wonder why X won't talk about Y. And I now know any contract that I would have signed would have turned this into yet another softer radio show on video, littered with live reads for every sponsor that could be crammed into every single episode possible, devoid of the sketches, the change my mind type segments, the spontaneity, the levity that's made this show exactly what it is. Oh, and by the way, I was told would never work by the same powers that be. And the real reason the stakes are so high for us here, but me specifically, look, either I'm a break glass in case of emergency candidate here to start a network and to actually start helping people out there who don't enjoy the same luxuries that we do of being independent. Either that's my role moving forward, or this isn't for me. And here's the thing. All at once, it kind of hit me, and I had to take some time, I hope you understand, to really pray and contemplate this. And it hit me. After all of these years, even after all this time, after all of you have voted with your dollar and your viewership and your support, you've shown what's possible in supporting this, the largest show in the conservative movement, bar none, just to be clear. And I don't often advertise that. I don't lead my show with that. I want the content to speak for itself. But I also realize that you need to understand you're a part of something bigger than maybe you realize. It's the biggest show in the movement, bar none. The last election night on Rumble, bigger numbers than any mainstream show on YouTube. That's significant. That's you. And while I'm grateful and humble, false humility does you a disservice. But even after all this time, after all of you have voted with your dollar, with your viewership, with your support, after you've set records, it wasn't, and it's not, I should say in the present tense, it's not that the suits in charge of these places, Big Con, and these sites, these media companies, it's not that they still believe that this show can't work. It's not that they any longer believe that you don't exist. Those at the top, those pulling the strings in Big Con, are bothered precisely by the fact that you do. They don't want a group of rebellious rabble-rousers who want to learn, fight like hell, and laugh together.
What's up, Uppercut Grandma?
You're of no value if you
Thank you
can't
for
all be
joining
kept
us.
in line to some degree. I don't mean some master plan to eliminate you. Just subdue you a little bit. Just soften your edges a little bit. Just play ball a little more so we can keep our content all monetized and keep having cocktails with those in charge of big tech. They want you to do that, and they're forcing many of the people you watch to do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. And I'm willing to bet that most of you watching right now can't do that. But okay, you know what? No. Let me rephrase. Of course I could. Of course I could do that. I won't. I won't do that. And I'm willing to bet that most of you won't either. Let me know just how many of you won't. Enter in your email at stopbigcon.com. Now, I just need some time to figure out how to do this. The requirement for infrastructure is light years beyond what we would need for just this show. Some time to solve this puzzle as to how I can best and most efficiently accommodate you.
What's up, Just a Girl? Welcome, welcome. You said, so, having watched all 3 videos, and honestly, Daily Wire seems way more honest and less reactionary. That's just my opinion of it all. Feel free to disagree. That seems like a very fair assessment. Haven't watched all 3 yet. We're starting with the first one, which is like Crowder's very first video. From what I'm getting from it so far, it seems like he just wants to be independent and he wants to create his own network for other people who want to be independent. Because in what he's making it sound like a lot of the bigger conservative media companies do lay in bed a little bit with big tech, which, I mean, they probably do. It wouldn't surprise me if they did, and that's what I said at the beginning of this live stream. Because we have Republicans that also vote not in the interest of us conservatives, but like for whoever pays them. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. It's business at the end of the day. He said Crowder signed a contract without reading it. It tried to lash out at the Daily Wire. F. Yeah, when I was seeing stuff on Twitter, it just literally seemed like he never mentioned Daily Wire in this video. It basically sounded like everybody's claimed that it was a slave contract and he wanted more. And then Daily Wire came out and was like, hey, it was us. We offered him $50 million and it was negotiable. It was a term sheet. And that made him look really crazy on Twitter and stuff. Seeing this video, the video doesn't make him seem crazy. The stuff on Twitter, though, made him seem crazy. That's why I had to watch all this for myself. I'm a Daily Wire member because the variety and excellence of the content, and I can support Crowder, too. Facts, you can support both. Look, I'm telling y'all right now, what did I just say in the video yesterday with Gothics and Amala? I was like, PragerU, Daily Wire, hit me up. Hearing all of this, if they ever brought me on for interviews like they did Hodge Twins, cool. I'd be down with that. If they ever presented me with a term sheet offer, obviously I would have to sit down with a lawyer, but if everything seems satisfactory to me and my lawyer, I'm signing it. I don't care. I'm signing it. Now, it sounds like he wants to start his own network too. Hey, I like Steven Crowder's content. It's like, he's definitely about to get this email, and I would be like, hey, my man, what's good with the network? What's good with it? I want you to repeatedly lose money on me while still upgrading my pay. You want? Yo, that's funny. That's funny. That was a crazy term sheet we saw though. So if you dang, bro, it was in the middle somewhere where it was like you lose 25%, you lose 10%, you lose 15%. So you lose. One of you did the math in the comment section. It was like you lose like 60 or 65% like that in a day. That is a big chunk of income to lose. What I saw on Twitter from how Jeremy and Ben explained it, because they're the co-founders of Daily Wire, is that if they don't make money, you can't make money. Which, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. The only way that wouldn't make sense if it was like a 9 to 5. Because if the company loses money or whatever, I'm still getting my paycheck at the end of the week for whatever it is. So maybe that was Steven's mindset. I don't know. It was $50 million, and they said they expected him to negotiate to meet somewhere in the middle. So can you imagine if they were like, we're gonna start at 50, and he'd be like, nah, I think I'm worth 100, and they met somewhere between like 70 and 80. I don't know. But that also begs the question, what does the whole contract look like? And apparently Jeremy goes over that in the next video, but that depends. Yeah, I'm a consumer and I go where the good content is regardless. Facts.
And hopefully some time to restore my faith in a movement which frankly has been shaken by some, not all. There are a lot of good people in this movement, but some really bad actors among us. And rather than throw anyone under the bus or continue this long, drawn-out drama playing out in the public square, I'd rather focus on how to serve you, the only people who truly matter in this movement and to this company, and I would say to the future of this country, you, the average American who's watching, not the person who's creating the content and framing the contracts, you, right now, at home, in your car, in your truck, wherever you are, hands on the wheel. So in the interim, as I figure this out, pardon my dust, I'll still be on my social media pages. The silence is over now. I know I've been sort of gone to radio silence. I'll still be doing stand-up shows that you can always check out at louderwithcrowder.com/tour. I'll actually probably do some more of those. I think I'm in Kentucky February 10th. You can go and check it out. I may even upload the occasional video. I don't know. Also, I don't really do a lot of press. The last time I did it was, I think, the Vox Apocalypse, because I just do this show. And for the first time in a while, I'll make myself available. I'll talk about this.
Interesting.
So anyone who wants to learn more, anyone who has the balls to talk about this, isn't afraid from the backlash of maybe not getting the guests from the people who want to try and pinch us, you can send an email to media@louderwithcrowder.com and send in your inquiries here. I'll make myself available to talk about this. Now, if we are going to keep doing this, we need to do it right, And I need to do this in a way that does right by you, because you are the future of this country. You are the catalyst for change, not some major media company, not some guy in a boardroom figuring out ways to sell you more reverse mortgages, gold, or fucking pocket catheters. It's you. It's always been you. Those in Big Con would do well to not lose sight of that. So I want to be clear. Make no mistake. The liberals out there foaming at the mouth, this is not me turning against conservatism or an incident of friendly fire at all. Everything that I've ever stood for, I'm standing for now. It's precisely because I believe what I say that I'm doing this. And by the way, too many of these people aren't our friends. So this is the last call to those conservative businesses in on the Big Con. You have a chance. Join me in making this right. You know you've lost your way. It's never too late to correct the course. We can all work together and fix this. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. There's no reason that it is this way. I don't know why. I've tried to get an answer. I don't understand it. It doesn't have to be this way. Let's all reset and do it right. And if not, hey, I'll do it without you. And Mug Club is coming for all of it. The viewers and the talent. Now, to everyone else, everyone who's watched, listened, paid attention in any way, either right now or throughout the years, I just ask that you join me in letting them know that there are far more of us, far more of you than of them. Demand change, demand better, be a signatory. That's what this is. It's not just entering in your email. It's letting these people know at Big Con that you want something different, that you require better. Because you know what? I am going to march into these people's offices, these nameless, faceless people's offices, with your declaration and the number of you who exist. Those in Big Con are personally going to know just how many of you are equally pissed.
Yeah, it's up to the conservative businesses too. They need to lead the way for the rest of us to support these guys. Yeah, they do. They really do. The question is, will they? Who's really gonna stand with only the independent creators? And who's gonna stand with the bigger companies because of the views and stuff you get? That's really what that's gonna come down to. Now, it's a big corporation. I like everything he's saying. It's not gonna work. He's like, show them we all stand together. We all never gonna be that cohesive with one another. It's not gonna work. We're divided within our own group. If you think about it, you got conservatives. Now, this is so weird. You have conservatives that don't rock with conservative Christians. They're now trying to separate us out the group because they don't want our religion muddled in with their views. But it's like, yo, y'all views are really coming from the religion. What's wrong with y'all? We all not going to be on the same page.
You and the number of you out there are officially going to be their report card. Not a handful of old money billionaires, not career, political, and nonprofit lobbyists. You're a signatory. This is their report card. And all of you are the reckoning. And if enough of you draft me, fine. Yeah. I'll be your instrument. Otherwise, what are we doing here? StopBigCon.com. Please enter in your email, comment below, hit the like, all of that, because it helps the algorithm, and you make sure that they see this. And stay tuned. It's probably going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride.
Okay, well, we're going to go into the next one. Actually, let me go. I'm about to type this in real quick. Stop BigCon, right? I just want to see what's like actually on there. Hold on, did nothing just come up? Okay, hold on. Stop. Oh, it literally is just ask for your email and that's it. All right, I thought it'd be more than that because I was gonna show y'all, but never mind. All right, so the next video in the series is from Jeremy Boring. He's the co-CEO, co-founder of Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro. This is 52 minutes long, and apparently he's supposed to go over every point of the term offer sheet that he offered Steven Crowder. Now, what's interesting about this, we just saw, Steven never mentioned names, and he purposely left all these names out. So for Jeremy to just be like, oh, that was us. We gonna do a video on it. That's shots fired for real. So let's hop into this. See what he has to say.
Our friend Steven Crowder has launched a new initiative called Stop Big Con. And in the video announcing the launch of the project, he talked about leaving the Blaze and all the different offers that he fielded from other conservative organizations and what he thought were the real problems with those offers. And that's led a lot of people to speculate about whether or not the Daily Wire is one of the people who made him an offer. In particular, are we the ones who made the offer that he put up on the screen and talked about at length? And the answer is yes, that offer did come from the Daily Wire. I'm not trying to hide that fact. I'm not ashamed of that fact. In fact, I think it's a very good offer. But I think there's a lot of sort of misconceptions about the nature of the offer, the nature of the points. I think Steven misunderstood a lot of the points. And so the way we do here at the Daily Wire, we're just going to be incredibly transparent. You know that we like to have our members be a part of the journey. We live stream all of our company town halls, for example. We just find that sunlight sometimes is the best disinfectant. And so with that in mind, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we came to be in conversations with Steven, how those conversations ended, and walk you just line by line through what the actual document that we sent over to him, a non-binding term sheet, what it actually said and why. First thing you should know is that I'm really miserable to be making this video. Steven's been my friend for 10 years. I think he's maybe the most talented person working in the conservative media space. He's one of the top entertainers in the country, politics notwithstanding, a great comic voice. And I find it really tragic that we're having this kind of a conversation. But it's also very important, I think, that we talk about it, in particular because I know a lot of people who are fans of the Daily Wire were really offended by the things that Steven said in the video, and they're concerned that maybe we're doing the wrong thing. And I think that by the time we finish this video, you'll understand what we were thinking with our term sheet and how we operate as a business a little bit better. I've wanted to be in business with Steven since the day that I met him. Ben and I tried to do some even movie deals with Steven before there was CRTV and before there was a Daily Wire. For that entire time, we've talked at length at various times about getting together and doing things. Of course, for most of that time, he's been under contract, first at CRTV and then at the Blaze. So we weren't able to. And from time to time during the years, we would get together and daydream a little bit about would there be a future for us to work together at the other end of that deal. We got word that Steven was finishing up his time at the Blaze and was interested in having a conversation with us. And so we reached out to his agent and we said, listen, we'd love to have a conversation. It's not every day that a monster talent like Steven comes on the market. We'd be bad businessmen if we didn't engage in a conversation with him. We weren't sure at that time if there was a deal to be had. I mean, for one thing, we're friends with Glenn, we're friends with Tyler, we're friends with all the guys at the Blaze. We weren't sure that we wanted to commit to making an offer to Steven. And Steven's an expensive talent. I mean, he's been in the business a long time. He has an enormous fan base, and we knew that it would take a lot of doing to get him over to the Daily Wire. This at the same time that we're investing very heavily in kids' entertainment content and making real television content, streaming scripted fiction like the Pendragon Cycle and Atlas Shrugged and other projects that we've taken on. Would we have the resources? We weren't sure. But again, you have to have the conversation, and we were happy to have it. So we reach out to the agent and we say that. We say, we'd like to have a conversation with Steven, kind of get into the details of what's he looking for? What's he looking for financially? What's he looking for in terms of structure? What would make his life better? What would make him happy? He's got this opportunity now to have a next chapter. What's he want that next chapter to be? And Steven's agent candidly just wasn't interested in any aspect of that conversation. He only wanted to know about the money. He said, we're not going to have a conversation. We're not going to have some abstract talk. We're going to send us an offer. Tell us how much money you're willing to pay. And he gave us an indication of what the minimum number would have to be in order to even have a discussion with Steven. And it's a big number. So we talked about it internally, and we decided, yeah, we should do that. We should send over an opening offer, a non-binding term sheet that takes a stab at what we think that minimum number is going to be to get the conversation started so that we can sit down with Steven so that we can see if there's a deal that'd be good for him and good for us. And that's what we did. We We put together the term sheet, we sent it over, and we asked if we could get on the phone and have a conversation with Stephen. I'm going to walk.
It's crazy that 50 million was just the minimum to just get him on the phone, because that's wild. And it was over 4 years. You'd basically be making a little over $1 million a month. Daily Wire, look, I'm not Steven. I'll take the 50 mils. I'll take it.
Walk you through that document, what it says, what it doesn't say, some of how Stephen represented it. I'm sure he feels like he was being accurate, but some of the things that he said are simply not true based on the text. And you know, Stephen's a very passionate guy. I think that he's doing his level best to stand against what he sees as an injustice, but there is no injustice in this document, as I think you'll see. And then I'll tell you what happened right after we sent the document, when I finally did get on the phone with Stephen. So first, here's the document, the non-binding confidential term sheet. I'm just gonna walk you through it, full transparency. This non-binding term sheet sets forth the basic deal points of a proposed content production and distribution agreement between the Daily Wire, LLC, the Texas Limited Liability Company, and Steven Crowder via his loan out, so that if and when the parties elect to move forward with a long-form agreement, they can move quickly in preparing a definitive and binding agreement. That's just legalese. That means this is just a conversation starter, and we're obviously going to have a negotiation if we move forward, and a lot of these points are going to get beat up. And for those of you who've never been through a contract negotiation, well, that's how it works. When you send someone an offer, you don't send them everything that you're willing to say yes to, because there is going to be a negotiation, because agents and lawyers are going to get involved, because you can't read their mind. You don't know everything that will be important to them and everything that they'll want. You don't know even, some of their sort of non-negotiable points. And so you send over a loose offer, and then they're going to beat it up a little bit. They're going to say, well, this should be higher and this should be lower. And you're going to come back and say, no, we're going to stand firm here, but we're willing to compromise there. And over time, you either get to a deal or you don't get to a deal. But that's how a good faith negotiation always works. 100% of every interaction I've ever had with any talent, that's the process. And so here we go. Here was our offer. A 4-year initial term with 2-year renewal at DW's sole discretion. That just means Stephen's going to work for DW for 4 years. And if it's going really well, DW can retain him for an additional 2 years. 2, the fee. Remember, this is the minimum number that we thought would get the conversation started with Stephen. $50 million for the initial term, plus $25 million for the renewal term, if extended, paid in monthly installments. Like I say, a pretty big number, but we thought for a talent like Stephen, this is probably the minimum number that's going to get us in the door so that we can sit down and talk to him.
Y'all, I'm just saying, a little over $1 million a month. That's what you making. Now, I understand taxes got to come out of that. If that was me, do you know how much I could put towards actually donating out to charities and doing some good in the world? While still living my best life? While still putting content out? Man, look.
3, production costs.
That's crazy.
This is important. We've never made a deal quite like the offer that we put in front of Stephen, because Stephen, very independent guy. I mean, all of our talent have very independent voices. Obviously, we can't tell them what to say. Candace says what she wants, and Jordan Peterson says what he wants, Ben, Michael.
That's true. But
Stephen has always built in this protection for himself that he wants to actually produce his content. He doesn't want, most of our guys, they come to the studio and we turn on the cameras. We point the cameras, we point the lights. Stephen likes to do that with his own team to just make doubly sure that no one's interfering with his content, not that we would. And so we anticipated that, and we said, Crowder will bear the burden of production, including all costs associated therewith, on all the content contemplated herein, except on the quarterly and annual content contemplated below. We'll get to that part a little bit later. It's kind of a novel concept. The quality of the production will be as good as or better than is currently existing content. This just, again, Stephen's going to produce his own content. It has to be as good as the stuff that Stephen's audience has come to expect from him, and that'll come out of the $50 million. So it's not like all of that $50 million goes right in Stephen's pocket. He's going to use some of it to pay for producers and studio space and camera equipment and operators and lights, just like we're going to use some of the money that we make to pay for the infrastructure and the technology and the marketing and the legal and all the other
I mean, but he's already doing that anyway, so that doesn't really seem like a big deal.
parts that go into making a successful business. Revenue collection, that says we'll have the exclusive right to realize revenue in connection with all of his content and brand. We're paying you this guaranteed significant amount of money, $50 million. And for that, one of the things we're buying is the content, but we're also buying the right to monetize the content so that we can have a chance of making some money and not just spending money. What is the content? First, we broke this into daily, monthly, quarterly, and annual content. The daily content is going to be very obvious to you. He'll deliver a 1.5 hour Louder with Crowder audio video show of a quality and kind consistent with the shows that he's currently producing 4 days a week. That's 192 original episodes a year if you factor in 4 weeks of vacation.
That's why.
Including all ad reads and promotions.
So he ain't even got to do Monday through Friday. He really just got to do Monday through Thursday. And you get a week off. And you get over $1 million a month. Now, all the ad reads and stuff, they do be having some whack ads on Daily Wire, though. I definitely would have negotiated that out. Because
as requested by us.
that's
So
crazy.
he's going to continue to produce his show, his Louder with Crowder show, 4 days a week, 192 times a year. And that'll include us being able to put ads in it and promotions in it. They'll be filmed in studio daily, Monday through Thursday. At least 1 hour of them will be outside the paywall. That's much how Stephen already operates. That's the part that goes out on podcasting. It's the part that goes out on YouTube. It's the part that goes out on Rumble. And at least 30 minutes inside the DW Plus paywall. So in the same way that right now he has his Piss Off YouTube segment that has historically been at Blaze, well, he would still do that same kind of concept. 30 minutes of the show would now be behind our paywall. Crowder can bank or pre-record a limited number of episodes upon our approval and reasonable discretion. Days without new original episodes will be scheduled in advance, subject to our reasonable approval. What's this about? Well, a guy like Crowder, you know, in addition to his 4 weeks of vacation, there's just also going to be times where he, for whatever reason, maybe he's got a speech, maybe he's got a stand-up comedy gig somewhere around the country. If he were to come to us and say, hey, I can't really shoot a show on Thursday because I'm going to be doing this stand-up gig, that's fine. Let's shoot 2 episodes on Tuesday and we'll roll one of them out on Thursday. It's just giving us all the maximum flexibility to still make the episodes, but for Stephen to be able to live the other important parts of his life. 192 episodes.
That's literally what Matt Walsh does. Because I promise you last year, like early last year, there were so many days he took off. But content was still on his channel. So as long as content is still there, they don't care. That's just filling in content being there. Oh, man, this...
Obviously, there are 260 work days in a year. Most Americans work 260 days a year minus 10. That's 2 weeks of vacation. So they work about 250 work days a year. And we're telling Stephen, you've got to produce 192. So already, even to say 4 weeks of vacation, you know, that is probably above average, but it doesn't really capture the reality of this, which is there are going to be, you know, 60 days basically of the year where Fridays, we call them, where Stephen basically doesn't have to produce a show. And you may say, well, that's still a lot. And I know Stephen says that's more than even, you know, network TV would ask for. Yeah, these are points that can be negotiated. I still think most people feel like, you know, if you're only working 4 days a week and you get 4 weeks off every year and you can pre-schedule even additional time to be traveling by banking episodes, you would at least say, you may think, well, he needed to negotiate that and get it down to 170 or something. Sure, I thought he would, but it's certainly not unfair to expect someone that is making $50 million over the next 4 years to, you know, work 192 days a year.
That's literally an NBA contract. That's an NFL contract. That's a baseball contract.
That brings us to monthly content. What is monthly content? Well, you know, at Daily Wire, our members are entitled to an all-access once a month with most of our talent. And that's where our members get to interact with them, sort of one-on-one, ask them questions. So we're saying once a month he would have to do a 90-minute all-access and any promotions and ad reads that would go in that. Right now, there are no ad reads in all-access. But again, you're giving yourself, it's a 4, possibly 6-year deal. You're giving yourself a little latitude for things to change. Quarterly content. We asked that Stephen would produce one major promo video and photo shoot coordinated by us for his content at the company. You know, we would want him to 4 times a year come in and make a very well-produced promo, that gives us marketing assets to be able to go out and sell subscriptions, sell Mug Club, sell any merch that we were doing with him, sell the entire idea of DW Plus, and one backstage episode a quarter or other major live event and VIP experience. So, and annual content. This was a new concept. We said that Stephen would do one feature-length entertainment special. That's like a stand-up comedy special. And that Stephen would do one feature-length political special. And that's like a documentary like What is a Woman? You know, this is something we're doing with all of our talent now. You saw it first with What is a Woman with Matt. Then in addition to his daily show, he brought us this amazing documentary. You saw it with Candace with Greatest Lie Ever Sold. And we've got a lot more projects like that in the work with our other talent now. It's really become an important part of our business model. Here's the key, though. He doesn't have to pay for that out of his $50 million over the next 4 years. We would pay an additional amount every year for that. In the case of the political documentary, we'd give another $1.25 million of production costs. In the case of the entertainment, depends on how it breaks down, but we'd give between $500,000 and $2.5 million more dollars. So, you know, you're talking about just this is more than 8 figures over the 4 years, in addition to the 50 over the next 4 years. And then E, additional Crowder content. What is this? I don't know, but presumably over the next 4 to 6 years, we might come up with other things that either he wants to do or we want to do. So we built a sort of catch-all bucket. If we and Crowder mutually agree to create additional content not currently contemplated, then we'd pay him $15,000 a day for that shoot. And again, a lot of that would be days he was already shooting, so that's just a little extra money in his pocket if we do something extra. Item 6, the back catalog. Crowder will license his entire back catalog, including without limitation every past episode of Louder with Crowder, to us during the term. That just means that all the episodes that already exist would also be behind our paywall during the term. At the end of the term, all of that content that we didn't actually pay for would revert to Crowder at the end of the term. But we would have it in the meantime. 7, ad reads and promo reads.
So essentially, all he's saying is, while you're here, not only are you gonna make money, but we gonna make money off of you because you're here. We have to recoup that 50 mil. And then once you leave, you can have all your stuff back. I think the best way Matt Walsh put it on Twitter, he said, if you were to leave, so stuff you created under Daily Wire, so like, for example, Matt Walsh did What is a Woman, right? That's under Daily Wire. If Matt ever leaves, he can't take What is a Woman with him. Like, we know he made it, but that's always going to be behind Daily Wire's, like, paywall. So it would just be like whatever them little documentaries and stuff he got to do once a year. But, like, do you really care, though? Like, if that's something you don't want to do anyways, you just be like, oh, I have to do a documentary once a year? I guess. Whatever. I don't know. But that seems like that could also be negotiated because this was just like the first term sheet.
DW will have the exclusive right to sell ads on the Crowder content on all platforms, channels, websites, apps, widgets, pages, and lists owned, branded, or controlled by us, and on any Crowder owned or controlled social channels, email lists, websites, etc., including louderwithcrowder.com. And it says remuneration for that is included in the fee. So what does this mean? Well, this is just how are we going to make, first, that at least bare minimum 50 million, and if you count the other things we were talking about, 60 plus million, plus we knew he was going to negotiate, so you're probably talking about 70, 75 million, plus infrastructure, plus marketing, at least $100 million we would have ended up spending over the next 4 years. Well, how are we going to pay for all of that? Well, one way is we're going to sell ads on all this content. And you know this is how we handle all of our shows. He has to, item B, Crowder will read the ad copy and promos as requested by us, though he'll have certain rights to disapprove of some ad sponsors for various reasons, right? He can disapprove of like 10% of the ones we bring him. He can disapprove if he owns equity in a direct competitor of one of the advertisers that we bring him. But point D, if he doesn't read the requested ads within that framework, then the content that he made won't be counted as delivered under the contract, because it's all fine and good that he made a piece of content, but if we can't make any money off of it, then we're just paying him so that he can make a show. We're not paying him so that we can participate in any of the success of that show. 8, ownership. This is a very important point. Daily Wire will own all of the content created herein and will own all of the DW created channels and brands created by us during the term. And to be clear, we can exploit those channels, brands, and content in perpetuity at our sole discretion. What does this mean? Well, it means just like all of the back catalog that Crowder would have been bringing over, we would have a license to have that all over at Daily Wire Plus during the 4 to 6 years that Crowder was here. But at the end of that 4 to 6 years, he would take all that content with him. A little bit different with the content that we're paying, tens of millions of dollars for during the course of that content would always stay with us. We would have a sort of perpetual right to monetize that content even after Crowder would leave. And if Matt Walsh were to leave the Daily Wire, presumably at some date in the future, well, what as a woman would stay here? Because we paid for that. We paid for the marketing of it, the production of it.
That's crazy. I just used that as an example, and then he uses it as an example. That's wild. So those are awesome terms. Sounds like Steven wants Biz to be different than it actually is at this point in time. Fair enough. Hope he makes the changes he wants. Yeah, I mean, if this sounds bad to him, this just sounds fair. That's all this sounds like. Yeah, as I said, it is what it is. You don't like it, it's up to you to change it. Yeah. I mean, if he wants to be independent, that's fine, but he made it sound like this deal was crazy. This deal sounds fine.
Paid him for the time in which he created it. And so this contemplates something very similar. We would still have the right to the things that we make. As far as channels and brands, I'll get to that in just a minute because it's addressed more deeply as we go. Adaptation rights. All this says is that anything that Crowder says on any of this content, we can adapt it down into written content and put it up at dailywire.com. So, we already do a lot of this. You transcribe something that Ben says, you transcribe something that Michael Knowles says, and we can put that out as an article. They don't actually have to do the work of rewriting their thoughts. 10, additional DW rights, merch rights. It says DW will maintain the exclusive right to create and sell Crowder and Crowder content branded merchandise, and the remuneration for that's already included in the fee. So one of the ways that we can make money, put ads in his show. One of the ways that we can make money, sell subscriptions around his content. One of the ways that we can make money is be responsible for his merch. Now that would mean that we have to pay for the creation of the merch, pay for the marketing of the merch, but we would own the upside. Email list. DW will maintain the exclusive right to manage, grow, and monetize all Crowder email lists during the term. We have an enormous team here at the Daily Wire, and some of them full-time think about email. So that's a burden that we would take off of Steven, having to manage his own email list, just like we manage and pay the expenses on the merch. But we'll get the upside of that. Remember, we're trying to fill that $50, $60, $70, $100 million hole and to make profit. And the profit gets poured back in so that we can pay for all the infrastructure, all the technology, and all the other ways that we're fighting the fight. Social media management. This one was something that Steven seemed particularly aggravated by in his video, although I don't understand why. It says DW will have the exclusive right to manage, curate, and monetize his official Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Snapchat, Rumble, and other social media accounts, excluding his existing personal Twitter and Instagram accounts. So why would we exclude some but not exclude others? Well, we're saying that during the term, we have, of course, he puts his podcast on Apple Podcast. We're the ones monetizing the Apple Podcast. So this is just making clear that, yes, we're selling ads in his podcast. The podcast goes out on Apple Podcast. That revenue comes back to us. We put something up on Facebook. Same thing. We bring in ad revenue off of that Facebook piece of content. But we're going to own that during the term. Obviously, at the end of the term, he's going to get his official Facebook account back. He's going to get his official YouTube account back. He's going to get his official Apple Podcast channel back. But during the term, again, all those people behind us, we've got experts in every one of these platforms, how to optimize it, how to make sure that you're getting the most out of it, and we'll manage that and we'll collect the revenue. But not as Twitter and Instagram, because those are very personal channels. You can't manage someone's Twitter. I can't speak for Candace Owens. I can't speak for Ben Shapiro. If only I could, I would like what they say a lot more. I mean, as you know about Daily Wire, we have a lot of disagreements sometimes between our hosts. Presumably, if I could control everything that they say, there'd never be any disagreements. They would just all be right all the time like I am.
Okay,
but
Jeremy.
That's not the case. We're saying, of course, he needs to control his own Twitter voice. Of course, he needs to include his own Instagram account. We get this a lot where people are like, Jordan's Twitter has changed since he joined Daily Wire Plus. I have nothing to do with Jordan Peterson's Twitter account. I don't have login credentials for his Twitter account. I've never asked him to tweet anything or not tweet anything. That'd be way outside of the bounds of what's acceptable, because that's a very personal medium, Twitter, very personal medium, Instagram. It also
That part's kind of iffy, cause like I wouldn't care if you took like the Facebook and stuff, but like how much money? I know he don't make money on YouTube. He'd have been demonetized off that. But how much money is being made off of Rumble? You know what? Never mind. He gonna get like $1 million plus a month if he just took the 50 mil. So if he got them for 100 mil, probably make way more.
also says that we will have the perpetual and exclusive right to create, own, manage, curate, and monetize any and all social media accounts that we create based on Crowder's content or shows. What's that about? Well, Crowder already has enormous social channels. He got like 6 million YouTube followers or something. I mean, he's one of the biggest voices in the movement. But what happens if we create a documentary like What is a Woman? Well, sure, you've got Matt's Facebook and Matt's YouTube that are promoting What is a Woman. But we may also want to build a Twitter account, that is at What is a Woman, or a YouTube account that's just for clips from What is a Woman. Well, that wouldn't belong to Matt. That would belong to us, because What is a Woman belongs to us. And that's what this was meant to say, that all of the stuff that Crowder brings over, that's his, Louder with Crowder and all, his Louder with Crowder accounts, all of that. Well, that's his. We're going to manage it for him during the term. We're going to monetize it during the term. At the end of the term, all of that's going to go back to him. He said that was not what it says in his video that he released, but you can read right here. That's exactly, he gets all of, it's only during the term that we control that. But the things that we make based on the content that we make, well, that belongs to us, because the content belongs to us. And so those channels have to belong to us. Those would never match anything like the magnitude of the channels he's created for himself, obviously. 11, exclusivity. Should go without saying, if you're going to pay somebody $50 million, you're going to have exclusivity. They can't go make content for people who compete with you. You don't pay someone to go work for the competition. But there's carve-outs. Of course, he can go do non-regular guest appearances if Tucker wants to have him on, if Fox and Friends wants to have him on, if he wants to go do a hit with Glenn Beck or something, he can go do that. He should use good faith efforts to coordinate them with us. And this is important. See, he won't have the right to run any personal subscription or donation effort. He can't have a Patreon or a Locals or any sort of paid fan club while Mug Club is part of DW+, right? We're the ones who are going to own subscription revenue during the term. So I think all this is very fair and very obvious to anyone. You wouldn't pay somebody $50 million to then compete with, have them work for your competitor, and you wouldn't pay them $50 million to have them compete directly against you. Now here's this section that I know Stephen was very offended by, and I think he misunderstood and therefore misrepresented. Fee reductions. There's a different fee reduction for all those kinds of contents we created. Daily content. If he fails for any reason to deliver 192 episodes of The Daily Show, or if he fails to include the ads that we agreed to or the promotions that we agreed to in those episodes, then we'll give a $100,000 reduction every time. What's that about? Well, again, you can't pay someone any amount of money, but you certainly can't pay them an unimaginably huge amount of money for their show and then not get the show. So what this is saying is you don't have to produce a show every day. You don't have to produce 260 or 250 or 240 or 230 or 220 or 210 episodes a year. You got to produce 192 episodes a year. You can film some of them in advance. You can stack them up. All of that's contemplated in there. You could shoot on a Friday so that you could take 2 days off next week. But if you don't give us 192 episodes, we can't pay you the same amount of money as if you did give us 192 episodes. So this is just, you give us 192 times 4 minus 1, then out of your 50 million, we're hitting minus 100,000. Stephen said that this was unfair, that if he had a sick day or got in a car wreck, we'd dock him $100,000. But I think that's just totally inaccurate for 2 reasons. One, presumably if he was sick this Tuesday, he could just shoot an episode next Friday and you'd be completely even. He's got an awful lot of extra time in the year to shoot these additional, to shoot any episodes to make up. And second of all,
he did misunderstand that completely then. Man, I'd be so perfect for this. I already have like 300-something videos on my channel. And I've been doing videos since August. That's not even a full year. Like, I could have busted out so much stuff in a short period.
It's actually contemplated a little bit later What happens if there's a disability? In fact, we'll just skip right to it. It's item E. In the event of temporary disability or serious illness that prevents Crowder from performing, the fee will be reduced on a pro rata basis, not subject to the fee reduction mentioned above. What does that mean? Well, instead of a sort of punitive fee because he's choosing not to do the right
you gotta
thing.
work.
And that
And honestly, like, you're not working every day either, which is crazy. You're working Monday to Thursday. You got 3 days off. On top of that, you get the 4 weeks off for the year. And then on top of that, the 192 don't even equate to the 250 or 260 he said average Americans work. So it sounds like there's even more extra time built off in there somewhere. Man, he fumbled this hard.
that situation, you'll just reduce it by
He fumbled
dividing
this hard.
the total amount of money contemplated, by the number of episodes, just subtract that, which I think is, again, incredibly fair. If you're being paid $1 for every box you deliver 10 boxes, you get $10. If you deliver 9 boxes, you get $9. That's a different concept than if you just choose not to deliver it, in which case we're going to subtract a little bit extra. And again, you pay somebody $50 million, you should get the work. Monthly and quarterly content, well, this is more valuable content and there's less of it, so the fee is higher, $250,000 if he misses that kind of content. Annual content, well, this is the most important, most expensive content. If you were supposed to have done a complete documentary this year and you didn't deliver it, well, we're going to subtract $1 million because that's one of the most important high-value pieces of content that we asked you to make that year. And then D just says reset. The fee reduces each calendar year. So, every year you kind of start over. You start over fresh. That brings us to 13, reduction of fee from lost revenue or boycotts. Again, this is one of the points that Stephen really focused on. He says we're enforcers for big tech, that we're doing big tech's bidding, that we're punishing content creators if they run afoul of big tech. And first of all, that's just personally incredibly offensive. It's incredibly offensive to have your friend and ally in 10 years of fighting this fight alongside one another, coming up together, say that you're not sufficiently conservative, say that you're I think he said in the video that we're worse than the left, that we're doing harm to the conservative audience and harm to the country, that we're not sufficiently at odds with big tech. Obviously that's ridiculous. You'll see that it's ridiculous as we go through this and I explain it. It's absurd on its face. We get content strikes all the time. We get demonetized all the time. We get shadow banned all the time, just like all conservatives do. We're investing tens of millions of dollars every year into technology to try to create alternatives. That's a long-term project. No one has built anything. Rumble is not a true competitor to YouTube yet. I hope that they become one. But right now, YouTube has many billions of people use YouTube and many millions of people use Rumble. It's a long-term investment to build these alternatives, and Daily Wire Plus is an alternative platform. But right now, we all still are dependent for getting our message out to have access to big tech and to monetize our content. We have to have access to big tech. That's where the audience is, and it's where the money is. It's also where Steven Crowder has made his entire name. He's the biggest conservative YouTube star of all time. He put out his video criticizing us in this contract as not being sufficiently conservative. The number one place people will view it is on YouTube. And that's not wrong. That's where people are. Of course they're going to watch it on YouTube. Of course he's going to put it out on YouTube. That's where the audience is. Now, Stephen might respond by saying, yes, but I don't make any money off of YouTube. I have been demonetized there. And that's a point that we'll talk about here. Nevertheless, obviously, you and I and everyone else, when we go to YouTube to watch Steven Crowder may be demonetized and he may not make any money. YouTube, though, still makes money off of us. And so in that way, Steven is still driving success for YouTube. It's unfortunate that YouTube has chosen to cut him out of participating in that success. In fact, I think YouTube is utterly wrong. The only time I've ever talked to the CEO of YouTube, it was to criticize her for her treatment of Steven Crowder. I didn't even talk to her about the Daily Wire. I had nothing to say at that moment about Daily Wire. But at that time, they had demonetized Steven. And I used my one audience with one of the most powerful CEOs in the world to tell her that what she was doing to Steven Crowder was absolutely unethical and wrong. So what were we trying to accomplish with this section? Well, let's go through it. The reduction of fee from lost revenue from boycotts, content strikes, or bans from major social media platforms. A, ad drop. If Crowder is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of his then extant advertising partners, that is, if 50% of the money that he's making from advertisers is suddenly gone, and we're not able to replace that revenue within 90 days, then his fee will be reduced by 25% until such time as the ad revenue has been restored for a period of 90 days, and then it would all reset. Stephen says, all the left does is boycott our advertisers, so this just says to the left, your boycotts work and we'll enforce it for you. We will punish the content creator for you. But this isn't about punishing the content creator. This is about if the Daily Wire is going to leverage, I can't stress it, probably $100 million by the time you have marketing and infrastructure costs, by the time you pay for all the legal compliance, all the technology that it takes to support Stephen's show and Stephen's show, even at the price that we offered for it, which he would have wanted much more, at least $100 million. Obviously, if the show makes dramatically less money, well, then Stephen has to make less money because we're making less money. And I brought this up to Stephen on the phone, and I said, Stephen, if your show, if we guarantee you $1 for your show, and the show makes $1 in ad revenue and $1 in subscription revenue, then how does the money work? Well, it works that $2 come in, you get your guaranteed $1, we get $1. What do we do? What do you do with your $1? Well, you produce your show and you pay yourself. What do we do with our $1? Well, we market your show, provide all the back-end infrastructure, pay for the 250 plus humans who work to make all of this continue to grow. By the way, we don't pay for one single person more than we need. There's no charity jobs. We're not giving our money away. If anything, we're understaffed by 50%. We ask more of our employees than any other company probably in America today. We drive people incredibly hard because our resources are limited and because we're trying to accomplish so much for our values, for our movement. So we pay for that out of our $1, and then we pay ourselves. But that's how it works. I said, if the next day one of the dollars, the ad dollar, goes away, now what happens? Should it be that you said something on your show that caused that $1 to go away? Now you keep your $1 and we make $0? I said, that wouldn't make any sense. Obviously, you would have to lose a little and we would have to lose a little. I said, we're trying to sort of emulate the idea of a joint venture. And Stephen said, no, you should lose all the money. It's your business. And I said, well,
it was also crazy. The contract did state that if that were to happen, he had 90 days to get it together before that reduction fee even kicked in. And you had another 90 days to get it together before it, because it was 50% and then 25%. So you had 180 days total if you were to hit all the fee reductions to figure it out. But before you even get hit with the first one, you have 90 days to course correct. I feel like that's way more than enough time to get a new advertiser on board.
Well, Stephen, how would we have a business? Why would we be in business? And how would we stay in business? And Stephen, this is a very important point.
What's
Stephen,
up, Leon?
Again,
yeah, I think $50 million too, bro. I would have took this deal. I done already said it before you came up in here. I want 50 mil. Daily Wire can give me a show any day.
Entertaining, talented person in the conservative movement. I think one of the most entertaining and talented people in entertainment generally in the country today has created a very successful content generation company, a very successful production company. Yeah. But Stephen's never had to create the company that actually distributes, markets, and monetizes all of that content.
We bear each other's burdens. Facts. For them to function, he can't lose money and then still get paid 100% of his contract. They would be out of business so fast. All their creator shows say controversial stuff on the daily. They wouldn't make it.
He talks in his video about being one of the only true independent conservative voices. And I find that incredibly offensive. Stephen, the whole time I've known him, has worked for someone else, has been paid by someone else. That doesn't mean other people tell him what to say. He's a very independent voice, and that's good. So is Matt Walsh. So is Candace Owens. So is Ben Shapiro. So is Michael Knowles. So is Brett Cooper. But Stephen, as much or more than any of them, a very independent voice. But he's not exactly a self-made man. That's not true. He was paid by PJTV when I met him, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by CRTV for a number of years, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by The Blaze, which was subsidized by a billionaire, until Tyler Carden, one of the real genius businessmen in our movement, turned the company around and made it profitable. During all of that time, Stephen drove a ton of revenue. He's incredibly valuable. I'm not suggesting that he wasn't driving value. He was. I'm only saying he didn't have to build all of that. He didn't have to think about it. And he didn't necessarily have to be profitable. And he doesn't know for a fact that he was profitable because, as he has said very publicly, all those companies, none of them really shared all the information about what was happening with them. So Stephen feels very certain that his show was always profitable, but he doesn't know that his show was profitable. And even if it was, what became of that profit? Most of that profit almost certainly was reinvested into growing the infrastructure and growing the technology and growing the marketing and growing the compliance. That's how business works. And if you're the Daily Wire, we're a very successful company by conservative media standards, and we're a tiny fraction of the smallest legacy media company. If we're going to make one of the biggest investments we've ever made in talent, which is what we were offering Crowder here, an amount of money that puts all of our investments at risk. I mean, if it doesn't work, you're not going to be able to make that kids' entertainment content. You're not going to be able to make that those movies and TV shows. You're not going to be able to continue to do things like sue the federal government to stop the vax mandate. You're not going to be able to do things like deploy investigative journalists to Virginia, where they uncover the Loudon story that changes the course of a gubernatorial election. All of that takes resources. When you leverage 50, 60, 70, $100 million, you're taking.
Yeah, he's talent, they're biz, we all got different gifts, and that's why we need each other. Yeah, that's facts. What he don't understand, I don't have an issue with Stephen. He wants to go independent, right? And we saw in his first video, he kept saying that. And I am going to email that little creator email link he put out, because I just want to see what they're talking about. But I don't think he truly knows how to run a network, because he's never ran a network. So he's going to find out firsthand, where he's just like, I'll have all these independent creators and we'll do this and do that. It's like, yeah, but do you understand what it's going to take to pay everybody out? You're going to have to own bits and pieces of everything if you want to make money. Why do you think here on YouTube, you think content creators get 100% of their monetization? We don't. YouTube, you might as well call it a 50-50 because it's very close to that. Like, they as much money as they get, and then they take money off everything else, like the super chats. You're supposed to get 70% of your super chats. You don't. I already did the math on mine. They took way more than that. So it's on everything. But I get it in the same breath. It's their company. They need it. They have to put that back into their infrastructure and stuff. I don't know if Stephen knows how to do that. And I don't know. He's going to learn firsthand very quickly.
Taking an enormous risk. You're putting all of that at risk. You don't do it cavalierly. You do it because you believe, and I do, that Stephen is worth it, that he's incredibly valuable. But it is still a huge risk. There's also a time factor. He might drive all that revenue, but what if it takes a year or even 18 months to bring over those Mug Club subscribers, to get those advertisers spending, right? Well, you're losing 8 figures a year in the interim or 7 figures a year in the interim while you're doing that. So you can't just say, we're going to pay you $50 million even if the show doesn't bring in any money. That's not punishment. First of all, $50 million minus 25% is not punishment by the standards of any human being in the world today, right? That's not punishment. That's just reality. He would still be being paid millions and millions of dollars, and we would be actively working with all those people that we're paying out of our cut to go find new advertisers to replace it, at which point he would be making his money again. Same with the content strike. If any major platform, YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, issues a content strike such that Crowder's content cannot be monetized on the platform, then again, there's this 90-day concept, and again, there's this 25% reduction. Now, Stephen, when I spoke to him, he was very upset. He said, I've already been demonetized on YouTube. That's the kind of thing in a negotiation. You scratch through that with your red pen and you say, Stephen's already been demonetized from YouTube, so we can't start the deal at minus 25. You have to already have anticipated that, and that would have been fine. That's just a very common. But if he were making a significant portion of his revenue on YouTube and he lost that revenue, it's not punishing him to say you will make less. We're all going to make less. The real punishment would be if we took all the hit, continued to pay him guaranteed money, whether his show makes money or not, and then we lose the business as a result. And now no one pays Stephen anything, and no one releases Stephen's content. He has to go build it all from scratch in crisis. Ban. The Crowder content cannot be released on any of the major platforms because of his content being banned from those platforms. Then we'll reduce the fee if YouTube 20, if Apple 20, if Facebook 10, if Spotify 10. Same kind of concept. If the content simply cannot appear and therefore cannot not only be used for marketing, cannot be used to grow the brand, also can't be monetized, well, we can't pay him the same as if it was. If you're making 25% of your money on YouTube, and now YouTube is permanently gone, you can't make that money anymore. It's not punishment. And this is really what it comes down to. Stephen's philosophy seems to be, I deserve to be paid millions and millions and millions of dollars, whether my show drives the revenue or not. That's not a business relationship. He's not looking for a business relationship. He's looking for a benefactor. The Daily Wire is not a nonprofit. We aren't benefactors. We're a business. We only get to eat what we kill. And at the very beginning, we thought maybe we could do like a joint venture with Stephen where we have the same relationship. There's no guarantee of money, and if there's more money, he gets a cut, and if there's less money, he gets a cut. But we knew, no, Stephen, at his level, his history, his experience, he just needs a big guarantee. He's earned it. But we still have to replicate in the deal some measure of that shared responsibility, and that's all this was meant to accomplish. You say, well, it's the same in the end anyway, because you're still telling him, if you say something YouTube doesn't like, we're taking away your money. Well, no, if YouTube would be the one taking away the money. We're just saying that we can't bear the entire brunt of that.
And still, you get 90 days to rectify that. You have 90 days to rectify all of this before the fees even come in. That's crazy. For him, that freak out though on all of this, it's like, bro, you didn't have a lawyer look at this? Was it promotion type thing? Like maybe your lawyer did go over it and you was like, you know what, I want to go solo dolo anyways, so let's just use this to push the narrative of me going solo and get a bunch of people on board. Because nothing sounds wrong with this. If anything, because he's such a big personality, you just negotiate for more money and stuff, and like he said, you cross out certain things. Yeah, he fumbled.
But it's even, I think what Stephen's suggesting here is kind of even more disingenuous than that, because I actually kind of came up with this whole concept by watching Steven Crowder. I mean, I mentioned it before. Stephen created this idea of Piss Off YouTube segment at Mug Club. And I saw it and thought it was genius. What does it mean? It means Stephen can go on YouTube, speak to a huge audience. In fact, most of his audience, that's where they engage with him, right? The subscribers are a very small percentage of Stephen's audience. Mug Club is a very small percentage of his audience. YouTube is the vast, overwhelming majority of Stephen's audience. He can go on there and he can be risque and he can do what he wants to do, but he can be calculated too, and he can say, there are some things that I simply can't say here because these bastards hate free speech. For those things, come over to Mug Club and become a subscriber. And then for 30 minutes a day at the Blaze, he could say whatever he wanted. And I thought that was a genius thing, and I implemented it at Daily Wire because I was inspired by Stephen, who again, very talented guy, very smart guy. This is just meant to say the same thing. Hey, I want you to be thoughtful about what you say on the free part of the show. Doesn't mean I want you to say things that aren't true. Doesn't mean I want you to say things you don't believe. Doesn't mean I want you to bend the knee to big tech. What it means is I want you to preserve the revenue as best you can, preserve the audience as best you can, and then tell people there's a reason we're building these multi-million dollar platforms. There's a reason we have subscribers. It's so that there is a place where they can't take our voice away. They can't tell us what to say. So what should he do? He should go on YouTube. He should talk about the things that he talks about, and then he should say, listen, there's some new study came out about the COVID vaccine, and I want to talk about it, but these bastards at YouTube won't let me. Come over to Mug Club at Daily Wire Plus. Go over there and talk about it. And in that way, we keep growing his brand, bigger and bigger audience, more and more people. We have those revenue opportunities, and Stephen is free to say the things he wants to see. I don't know.
Which is literally what the other content creators at Daily Wire does. if you ever see any of their YouTube videos, they'll say their piece, and then at the very end, they'll be like, all right, y'all, we're about to go over to the Daily Wire Plus portion of the show, so head over that way, and we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z. It's the, man, yeah, he fumbled this kind of hard.
I don't know why when he read this, he couldn't see that.
Crazy.
I don't know why when we talked about it after the fact, and he was very upset with me, he couldn't see it. But I find it deeply offensive that he won't give me the benefit of the doubt, and even more offensive that he felt that he needed to air our disagreement about this section publicly. Stephen's my friend. He's my ally. It's just a low move, and I'm sure he thinks he's standing on principle. The problem is, you might even think that, first of all, friendship is a principle. You might think, yeah, but some things have to be more important in the public space than friendship. I don't know if that's true, but let's say that it is true. You have to be right if you're going to burn one of your friends the way that Stephen burned us. And Stephen is wrong. I am not an enforcer for big tech. I am trying to maximize the reach and revenue of my hosts and my company, because no company spends more money than the Daily Wire directly marketing its talent. We spend tens of millions of dollars every year helping our talent grow, marketing our talent with real dollars. We spend tens of millions more building technology, tens of millions more on staff and support, building expertise, so that we can, over time, build a completely parallel system, a completely parallel economy. That is not a day's work. That is a generation's work. That is the work that we are engaged in. That's why we've had so many successes. You have been with us for so many of those successes. And I feel like Crowder really threw us under the bus and cheapened that and discredited all of it in saying that we're enforcers for the very people who hate us, the very people who shadow ban us and demonetize us and give content strikes against us all the time, when all we're saying is, no, let's be smart about how we fight them. The rest of this document, you're welcome to read it. It's just legalese, and what it says is, if we decide to move forward, this isn't the whole document. We're going to have a longer document. We're going to have to negotiate these topics.
It says the parties intend to collaborate in good faith and attempt to reach a mutually agreeable, definitive long-form written agreement regarding the subject matter of this term sheet. Until the time that such long-form definitive agreement becomes fully executed, there's no binding agreement between the parties except for those matters in this section. Confidentiality. The parties agree that the terms of this term sheet and the transaction contemplated herein are confidential. Well, Stephen broke that. He broke that hard. Except as required by applicable law, rule, or regulation, or any governmental, judicial, regulatory, or supervisory authority having jurisdiction over such party or that party's affiliates or any of their respective officers, directors, employees, consultants, contractors, agents, and financial and legal advisors. None of the parties or the representatives will make or cause to be made any disclosure, press release, or any public announcements relating to this term sheet or the transaction proposed herein without the prior written consent of the other parties. Well, he broke that as well. The foregoing shall not apply to any information which is or becomes generally available to the public other than that as a result of a disclosure by the party seeking to disclose. In the event that a party hereto or any of its representatives is requested or required by oral questions, interrogations, request of information, or documents in legal proceedings, subpoenas, civil investigative demand, or other similar legal or regulatory process to disclose this term sheet or the terms hereof to any third party or governmental authority, that party shall use commercially reasonable efforts to provide the other parties with advanced written notice, if legally permitted, of any such request or requirement so. I guess to be fair on Stephen's part, he never named names. He just showed certain parts to be that he was upset about. But he definitely didn't keep it confidential.
Confidentiality. We're not going to tell people.
And then, bro, y'all went like a little too fast. You know, it don't matter. That such other party may, to the extent practicable, seek a protective order or other appropriate remedy and or waive compliance with provisions of this term sheet. This confidentiality provision will terminate 4 years from expiration of the term. And then this is all about signing it and stuff. Okay.
People about the deal. He didn't sign this, so he doesn't have those confidentiality requirements, although I certainly expected some political or, I guess, personal and professional courtesy of him not going and reaming us publicly for making him an offer that he didn't like. I don't owe Stephen a job, and Stephen doesn't owe me a show. We opened up a conversation in good faith. We made an offer. He didn't like it. Now he's burning us. That brings me actually to what happened after. I sent this over. I did get on the phone with Stephen.
Yeah.
Normally, this is the stage where you say, I like this, I don't like that, red line, red line, red line, and we move closer together. Instead, Stephen said, I'm not going to redline this. Not going to have my agent respond. This deal is garbage. You need to start completely over. I said, well, I'd like to talk through why we do it. And he listened for a little bit, and he said, well, you're just wrong. You don't know anything about business. My business model is the right business model. And of course, that's unfair because Stephen hasn't run this part of a business before. Stephen likes to say, I'm only on the air because of Mug Club. But Stephen couldn't tell me how many subscribers he had. I said, how many subscribers do you have at the Blaze? He said, I don't know, they don't tell me. And I'm sure that's true. He said, but I'm confident, I guarantee you it'll be 350,000 on day one with no marketing. I hope that's true. But I can't take that risk. I've never seen that to be true. I've never launched any talent with $0 spent on marketing and picked up a third of the total subscribers that the entire Daily Wire has built in 8 years in business. I hope Stephen's right. I hope he makes unseemly amounts of money and is able to continue being an important voice in the movement for years and years to come. But that's not a risk that I could take. Stephen implied that he not only didn't like this $12.5 million a year number that I offered him, but that he thought it should be closer to $30 million a year. That's $120 million over 4 years just for Stephen's show. I would still have to spend those tens of millions of dollars every year that I told you about on things like marketing and infrastructure and technology to support the show, the part that Stephen's never done. As soon as he said that, I knew we'll never get to a deal. I can't guarantee $30 million a year. I didn't know how I was going to pay for 50. I thought, not that he isn't worth it, but that's a big risk. $120 million is an incalculable risk for a company our size. And again, I'm not saying Stephen isn't worth it. I hope he is. I hope he builds his own business. He'll make a ton of mistakes. He'll find out that he's wrong about a lot of how the business world works. He'll learn and he'll grow because he's a smart, talented guy. And I hope he gets to a place where he's proving me wrong and he's making all that money. But that just was not a deal that the Daily Wire could possibly make.
I'll tell you this. The only issue with Stephen outing all of this publicly, I know he didn't name names to begin with, but the fact that he did show parts of the deal online, and Daily Wire was the only one. He said he entertained contract offers with an S, so he talked to more than just the Daily Wire, and he had issues with all of them. I guarantee you, because of that, I don't think anybody else is going to reach back out to him with an offer for anything. So at this point, he's definitely gambling on himself, and he has to be right. He has to be right with whatever moves he's making. Because I don't, like I said, I don't think anybody else is going to reach back out to him and give him another offer for anything.
And we'd have to pay it even if he lost all the revenue, or even if he lost enormous chunks of the revenue. It was just an impossible situation. And so Stephen said, we're going to throw this deal out. I'm not even going to mark it up. I'm not going to negotiate it. Start over. Send me a new deal. And because of his talent and because of our friendship, I thought about it for a minute. Talked to my partners about it for a few minutes. And then I just realized what I already knew in my heart, which is Stephen's not a team player. That's not a knock. He has an enormous individual talent. But he's not going to be happy unless he's out on his own. And so I called him up. I said, hey, we're not going to send a follow-up offer. I want you to hear it directly from me, not from lawyers and agents. I said, but the kind of deal you're looking for is not the kind of deal that we can make. He was super gracious, appreciative, kind. We agreed to continue forward as we always had as friends. We do favors for each other. I told him, if you stay at the Blaze or if you go off on your own, go to Rumble, go wherever, we're going to continue to write stories about you and promote you and have you on. Like, you know, we want you to be as successful as humanly possible, and we want to contribute to that. And we went our separate ways. And months went by. October goes by, November goes by, December goes by. And then a week ago, in January, Stephen called me. And he said, hey man, I can't unsee this contract that you sent me. And I said, well, it's not a contract, it's a non-binding term sheet. It's a conversation starter, but okay. And he told me his perspective on it, that we were not paying him what he's worth, that we don't understand his great business mind, and that it's going to go exactly the way that he thinks, and we're all going to be proven wrong. I said, again, I hope that's true, Stephen, but that's not a risk I can take. And then he said, and you're just an enforcer for big tech. You're hurting young talent. I said, well, Stephen, first of all, no two talent in our company have the same deal. Every deal is different because There's different circumstances. This is the kind of deal you make to protect a 9-figure investment. You can't pay 9 figures in expenses, even if the revenue dries up. That isn't possible. It's not prudent, but it also isn't possible. And he wouldn't let it go. He was very angry. And I got very flustered. I didn't expect him to be calling and laying into me the way he was. I'd never experienced it before. I didn't make the best defense of the deal that I probably could have because I was so caught off guard. I mean, I made a decent defense of the structure of it, but I was really taken aback. And then I told him, well, I'll take it under consideration, bud. And we got off the phone. And then I wake up yesterday and he puts out this video laying into us the way that he did. And, you know, he redacted parts of the document. He didn't name us by name. And I'm sure on some level that was meant as a courtesy. But all it really did was create suspicion in our audience. I know a lot of you have been out there defending us, saying, well, this couldn't have possibly been the Daily Wire. And I don't want to be the guy who 3 weeks later, Stephen or someone else says that it was the Daily Wire and you feel betrayed. Like, why'd these guys leave me out to dry? I appreciate your impulse to defend us, but we don't need to be defended. This is a fair offer. It's an offer that would have been negotiated. I would have paid him more. The fees would have been lower. Fee would have gone up. Penalties would have gone lower. Number of work days probably would have shrank. He would have done a little bit less content, and we would have inched our way like this, either to a deal or not to a deal. That's not how Stephen chose to operate. And now we find ourselves here where we're having this public dispute. I'm having a public dispute with my friend of the last decade, which is one of the saddest things I've ever faced in public and professional life. It's just a horrible thing, but I do owe it to those of you who are out there defending us. I owe it to Daily Wire Plus subscribers to say, yeah, it was our offer. I'm proud of the offer. I think it was innovative. I think it was meant to make sure that we could mutually succeed. I don't need to tell you that we're committed to fighting the left. We fight the left as hard as anyone. You might say, well, you guys are wrong sometime. Ben was wrong about this one time, and you were wrong about that one time. And yeah, we don't claim to not make mistakes. This actually isn't one of our mistakes. This is a great, respectable offer that we made to a good friend of ours, a mega talent, and now it's been misconstrued and is being wielded against us kind of as a cudgel. And so just wanted to be transparent with you about it. I'm proud of the deal. I'm proud of what we do at the Daily Wire. I'm proud of the fact that we publish diverse voices that don't always agree with each other, and that means that you're not always going to agree with everything that every one of us says. But I can tell you with a clear face, I'll put our conservative bona fides up against anybody. I'll put our hard work, determination, and success rate up against anybody. And I'll put our audience and our fans and our Daily Wire Plus members up against anybody, any day. We are moving the ball forward. And it's unfortunate that Stephen said otherwise. So what should you do? Should you run over and cancel your Mug Club subscription? Should you go attack Stephen in the comments? Should you? No, none of that. In fact, if you're not a subscriber to Mug Club, you should head over to mugclubforever.com right now and subscribe. Stephen's one of the most important voices and most talented voices in the movement today. We need him to succeed. We need him to be big. We need his, whatever he does next, to be huge. You just need to know that he was wrong about this. You need to know that we didn't betray you. We didn't betray the conservative movement. We didn't, we won't. We'll keep fighting. And with your help, we'll keep winning.
Yeah, that's, because one of you came in here, I think it's called Just a Girl. You guys said the video was very fair. They seemed very transparent and honest. Yeah, they did. That was very transparent. Stephen dropped the ball. 3 points. For Stephen, they had a phone call, and then the second phone call months later, where he was still mad. Something he mentioned was, off that first phone call, I want you to write a new sheet and you send it over to my agent. Not, I want you to write a new sheet and you send it over to my lawyer. Where was a lawyer in all this? Because I feel like a lawyer could have really just broke all that down and they would have been cool. Another thing that Jeremy mentioned when he said, how many subscribers do you have on Mug Club? And he said, I don't know. They don't let me see those numbers. So you have no idea how many people are actually signed up to you. And because it's ran through the Blaze and they're getting a chunk of that, you really have no idea how much money you truly make out of that at all. That's worrisome. Because how you gonna tell him, like, I think I deserve this much, and you don't even know how much you're truly making? That's wild. Last point. You never do business with friends and family. You see, somebody in the background said facts. Yeah, you never do business with friends and family. They're the first ones to screw you. You heard what Jeremy said. He literally said, we've been friends for a decade, and it is now like we're having this public back and forth battle, and it has turned into this. I don't think they're gonna be friends again after this, but they're guys, so they'll probably work it out better than how girls are working out. but said facts again. But that also depends, cause like you put business and stuff out there, so you could just be like, nah, bro, I can't really trust you, cause I told you some things. You aired all that out to everybody, so we'll see. This is the last video. This is what Steven Crowder dropped literally like 10-15 minutes before I started this live stream. And this is his response to the Daily Wire video. So let's go ahead and hop into this.
They don't get deals that...
They can be wage slaves for a little bit, come over and make a salary and grow their brand. They can be wage slaves for a little bit. They can be wage slaves for a little bit.
That's what one of you mentioned earlier. You said Ben Shapiro called people wage slaves. Look, I'm gonna be real with you. You want to pay me $50 million over 4 years, and that's what you mean by a wage slave? Sign me up. Sign me up. Ben, call my line. I'll be your Steven Crowder.
God bless the talk boy. Those things are worth like $5,000 now. It's an expensive gag.
That's wild. That's 5 racks now? I had one of those when I was a kid. Literally, I got it for Christmas because that was like the big thing at the time when Home Alone came out. It's 5 racks.
Didn't want to have to do this,
That's
but
insane.
Daily Wire outed themselves very, very quickly. And sure enough...
Is Crowder some sort of right-wing podcaster? He's a Christian conservative talk show host / comedian. That's all. And he's fighting right now at Daily Wire about who's right and who is wrong about his contract offer.
If you see all of the people who work there, some of whom I have
Also,
relationships with,
welcome,
they immediately tried to make this all about money. Here's the problem. There are a few problems, and I'll go through with some receipts. Everything that was said about negotiations, how they transpired, beyond the numerical value, which is true and I'll get to, everything else is untrue. I don't really want to get into that. It's completely irrelevant. Here's why. Go back to the 20-something minute video, 30-minute video. You've never heard me say or write anywhere online that these offers weren't paying enough money. Why? Because it's not about the money.
You did say it was a wage contract, though. You did say that. So that correlates with the money. You did say it was a wage contract. And you said, I now see what the younger generation has to go through. Luckily, I'm blessed. I don't have to sign these. You put it to the side. And then you were like, but these deals are crazy. I can't believe they're making you guys sign this stuff. And we just went over it on Daily Wire's channel, and the deal was kind of cool. So I don't know.
It's kind of unreal to me that the only thing these people can still talk about is the money. The conversation was about conservatism, the movement, and big tech. They keep talking about money. I'm talking about a country. I'm talking about a movement. I'm talking about making a difference. It's not about the money, and Jeremy and the Daily Wire know that. How do I know they know that? Because after, according to what he said, I walked away from the offer. I did place one more call to the Daily Wire, and I made it very, very clear that it wasn't about money. That was not the topic of conversation. There was zero, as they've tried to portray this, miscommunication. It was one last call where the only thing that I asked for, my only demand, was their word, and not even for me, but for other people coming up facing these kinds of contracts. Let's say it's a kid who comes in with 500,000 YouTube subscribers or something like that, 100,000. Let's say it's some other kid you're paying 6 figures to come in and do it. There's There's not the penalty of the demonetization or if they're removed from iTunes, Apple, YouTube.
Yeah, sure there would be.
And here's something else. I was also very measured. I was painstakingly clear in taking myself off the table because it wasn't going to be a right fit. That happens in business all the time. But that we...
I'm gonna be real with y'all. Recording somebody's phone call without their knowledge is super scummy. Now, if you need, like, if you're being abused by somebody or you gotta catch them in the act, right, and you need, like, a confession, and you live in a state where it's a one-party law, the other party don't need to know, and you need that for them, cool. Where this is just, like, behind-the-scenes contract negotiations, none of us ever needed to get brought into, this is scummy. Especially from somebody you call your friend for over a decade, and it bothered him that much. Because we just heard what Jeremy just said. It's like, yeah, you're gonna get hit with these things because, like, if they're not making money, you can't make money. But in the same breath, you had 90 days to get that worked out before you got hit with a deduction. Once again, I don't think he actually had a lawyer look at his term sheet, because all he kept mentioning was him and an agent. Bruh, you needed a lawyer to go over this with you because this is crazy. Right? If he didn't want to do this, why are you recording the phone call? That's mad scummy. That's super scummy.
We weren't talking about me. We were talking about the futures of other people who could potentially be in that position, that very disconcerting position. No miscommunication. What I'm talking about is you're describing a model for everyone, not just, let's get rid of me here. Everyone, if there's a penalty for being demonetized on YouTube, because your business model requires that be a huge component of it, you need to change your business model or this movement cannot work, Jeremy. I can't imagine my show trying to come up and be beholden to YouTube advertiser guidelines, let alone, I mean, honestly, being beholden from a conservative entity with hard strikes, right, being removed, but let alone being advertiser friendly. We know how broad those guidelines are. They might as well just read, don't say anything offensive, and they change them at the drop of a hat.
I'm not suggesting that the guidelines aren't terrible. I'm suggesting that if making money off of those platforms is part of how you're justifying the salary you're paying someone, then or the fee I keep saying salary, the fee you're paying someone, then when those go away, everybody loses money. You can't pay the same amount with less revenue.
How about you create a different business model?
That's
now,
not how that
I know what
works.
some of you are thinking. Of course, telling someone else, hey, change your business model. I get it.
That's not how that works. That's not how that works. I don't know if y'all know or remember this, but years ago, so now when you start a YouTube channel, if you hit certain recommendations, YouTube would just straight be like, oh, you can apply for monetization, yada, yada, yada. Years ago, when I had my first channel with like 3 other people, it was different. At that point in time, because YouTube was so new, you had to get a phone call from YouTube for them to be like, hey, we want to monetize you and work with you, right? And you had to be really big at the time for them to even call you to get that phone call. What happened is the smaller channels, like me and everybody else that didn't get them phone calls, all these MCM companies were created to be the middleman. And they'd be like, hey, we'll work with YouTube to get you monetized. And like, you don't even need to be like big to hit that. But on the upside, because we're doing this, we gonna get a cut of that profit. So if YouTube says, hey, we gonna give you 55%, right? This middleman company, which is an MCM, is just like, all right, we gonna pay you 25 or 30 or 20%, and they send you a contract and lock you in with the terms. We signed one. Once we cracked a certain level, and we didn't really need them anymore, once our year was up, we left them and we went straight through YouTube at that point. That's not a thing anymore. You can go straight through YouTube, but it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. That's why YouTube has all these guidelines in place for advertisers. They're like, hey, we can run ads on your videos now. But if you say certain things, advertisers aren't going to want to be on your videos. So we not making money, you not making money. That's all this is. And he can't get over that. See, this is why it don't sound like he had a lawyer explain any of this to him. Because it seems very simple and basic to understand. You want to be independent, be independent. There's nothing wrong with that, but you got to know how the business works, right? You can't get over how self-righteous he sounds in that call. Yeah, he sounds kind of crazy.
I'm in no position to say that unless, instead of Monday morning quarterbacking it, here's the thing. I didn't just offer criticisms. I offered a guide on how to, here's the deal. I want to sit at the table with people who, granted, have an immense amount of power and have incredibly deep pockets. That is all true, to be clear. And by the way, it's something that I want to have on our side of the aisle. But I offered a guide on how to do it. It is incumbent, this is what this is about. It is incumbent upon conservatives,
They didn't ask.
if we believe what we say, to uncouple, to divest, if you want to use that term, from big tech. Right? For the business models of the movement as we move forward, to not rely on playing ball with Facebook and with YouTube. That is something that we have to move toward. You know that we've been trying to do that here for years. That's why every single show we say, hey, if you can watch on Rumble, please do so. We're not looking to be banned on YouTube, but we certainly won't compromise the truth.
Yeah.
In order to be advertiser friendly.
It's just a little
Here's
bit,
the thing.
just a little bit.
Here's the thing. Daily Wire, Jeremy, and I really do hope that we can talk at some point. Please, you can pick up the phone. We've done that.
Did he just say, Jeremy, I hope we talk at some point. You can pick up the phone. Sir, you just recorded their phone conversation and y'all supposed to be friends for like a decade. I don't think I'd ever take a phone call with you again. I don't even think I'd do a face-to-face, because at that point I'd be like, man, he probably got a pocket cam on. He probably got the iPhone recorded in the pocket. I wouldn't really trust him after that. He's breaking a lot of trust right now.
We here have found a way to make that work. For proof, see election night, our numbers on Rumble there, and see the numbers on Rumble when we get suspended from YouTube. I think it was 4 times this last year. And I went to great lengths to communicate that to the people at Daily Wire. There can be no next me if the people at the top with the financial resources are doing the bidding. That's being the arm of big tech. What you just said is, well, we have to play ball with big tech if we want to make money. Well, I don't. Why don't you guys follow a model like I have and scale it? That's what I've been doing since 20.
Bro, you're not a business. You're just a talent. You're on other people's platforms. You don't know how the business of it actually works. He just makes content. I want to know what his P&L sheet looks like for him to be like, I have an idea and blah, blah, blah. It's like, if you've had this idea, why do you keep signing contracts with all these networks and working with these people? If you know what you're doing, just go out there and do it. And then if it works, it works. And then y'all can have that conversation. Be like, see, it works. You should do what I'm doing and we should partner up. But until then, you don't know. You just make the content.
14, you know that, has been trying to make sure, which I thought we were all doing, that we can all flip the bird to Silicon Valley. This is saying we need him and you need to play ball. And by the way, before some of you ask for this, look, there's always personal information on phone calls. And for the record, I've recorded 3 people on phone calls in my life. All 3 are involved with big tech. Just to be clear, the entire call transcript has been sent to others to verify without hopefully having to release the whole thing. And I'll be on Tim Pool's show, I believe, on Monday to talk about it. Now, this is something else that's been brought to my attention.
I'm going to have to react to that.
You know, look, some people have been sent out from Daily Wire and have gotten very personal. Obviously, when we released this video, we didn't name names, and I told you there are a lot of people in the space who have made offers, and it is true. There are quite a few, and there are some others that have been pretty similar to this. This isn't an incredibly unique scenario, but there have been some good people out there too, and we're still talking with them. So I do know that some people from Daily Wire have come out, maybe been instructed to. I have no idea. I don't care. And they've gotten very personal. I don't want to do that. At least I didn't want to. But now it's sort of necessary for me to do so. So these are the only personal things I will say about the people at Daily Wire. Andrew Klavan is one of my favorite people of all time. He has an unbelievable skill to make you feel like the smartest guy in the room, even though I guarantee you he's smarter than you. There are very few people whose company I enjoy more than Andrew Klavan. Jordan Peterson is not only a friend, I would go to the wall for him. He's a guy who has changed the landscape of our country for the better. Can't say enough good things about him. Ben Shapiro is possibly the smartest person I know.
Facts.
That's as personal as I'll get. Now, here's the thing. Only after that final call, after negotiations had followed through, pleading on the side of principle and knowing that it was completely met with deaf ears, did I come out like I did? See, here's the thing. Daily, they keep talking about a business. Well, I walked away from the table because I'm talking like it's about a country, about a movement. And this is the thing. The response that I've heard over the years, it's not just now. I've been doing this for a long time. You constantly hear, it's just business. It's just business. Well, guess what?
It is.
It's not to me. Sure, I run a business, but it's not just business. And let me ask you, when have you ever heard someone say it's just business when they're doing the right thing? Ever hear someone give $250,000 to charity and say it's just business? And here's something that I would like to ask you, because I know that they've tried to play the identity politics and misrepresent the whole financial situation. But yeah, over the course of 4 or 5 years, the total operational budget, meaning 25, 30 employees, all of the costs, security, health insurance, would have been somewhere in the $50 million ballpark for that total operational budget. That is true. Okay. First off, I think it's a good thing for conservative.
Every time someone says it's not about the money, it's 100% about the money. Or you wouldn't have made that second phone call, which Jeremy said in his video. He was like, we had our initial phone call when we first sent that out. He didn't like it. Months later, he called me back a second time and said, I can't get your term sheet off my mind. I bet you can't. It's $50 million. I bet you couldn't stop thinking about that. And then he turns it into this. It's so weird.
Companies out there to be generating or capable of generating far more than that. And it'd be better than just Disney and just Netflix and just Hulu Plus. And I'd like the people who are in charge of that to be people who are willing to walk away from that if it comes with strings attached, with people who hate everything you stand for. So let's take that at face value, okay? I want you to ask.
Bro, it literally sounds like he was just going to be doing everything he's already doing now. You already produce your own show. You definitely not making $50 million a year. So let's start there. That's why they gave you a minimum, right? You already producing your own show at The Blaze. You already do a segment where you talk a certain way and then you tell people to come over to the other side to talk for like 30 minutes. You was going to do the same thing. Nothing changed, right? Your big issue was like, oh, you're going to control my Facebook and stuff. Who cares, bro? Let them control that. Post the videos and all that. You're going to get it back at the end of your term. You got to keep your Twitter and your Instagram. That's a win to me. I wish somebody would do my Facebook and all that. I don't like doing any of that crap. It's like, here, manage it. Do what you got to do, and you get paid for it. And then his big issue was with if you got like a demonetization on something and you get hit with the fee. It was after 90 days. You had 90 days to rectify that, or else you got hit with it. So you had 3 months, essentially. Like, bro, you could have definitely rectified that within the 3 months.
Ask yourself this question.
Tripping.
Okay?
He
Put yourself in my
He
shoes.
fumbled this hard.
What would it take? How much do your principles matter to you? What kind of a headspace would you have to be in to walk away full stop from $50 million?
Bro, I promise you, I would have started hitting the red line marker with some things and gave it back and be like, oh, hey, time to negotiate. My man, sure.
Let me ask you even further. What would it take for you to be willing to walk away from at least $50 million because of it causing harm to someone else that doesn't even affect you?
Bro, you sound crazy. You're not Dave Chappelle. Let's just get that right. You sound crazy. It's reported that he called $50 million a slave contract. To be fair, I didn't see yet if that was USD or Canadian. So yes, he did in the first video we watched. He did call it a slave contract. He never showed how much it was, and he never named names. He just said he was offered slave contracts from a bunch of these offers he got from companies. And it's in USD, not Canadian. So he would have been straight. Yeah, if it's not about the money, why do penalty fees even matter? Exactly, because it's about the money. like you said, it's about the money.
But the next kid, I've talked about this, you have it in comedy. I'm never going to be the guy who pulls the ladder up after me. What motivates me is not money. Of course, everyone here likes nice things. They want to make a living. You've heard me say this many times. I want to pass the torch. I want there to be someone else to do this. It can't happen if this is how our movement is structured. And you know that, by the way, this could do irreparable damage to the movement, the country, and the people who've fought so hard for the ground gained if we've decided to get in bed with these people who want to strip it away. I'm asking, would you walk away? What would it take for you to walk away from $50 million? Because it's true. That's exactly what I did.
Bro, for me to walk away from 50 million, okay, as a Christian, it would have to be a very super unethical contract in my eyes, right? What we heard Jeremy read, and he showed it on screen, everything he was reading, which is what he got, and he admitted that was the contract he got. Bro, there was nothing in there to be doing all of this. This is a big show at this point.
It's exactly what I'm doing. And so long as these contracts out there include enforcement of big tech, of punishing conservative creators on behalf of the people we claim to fight and the people who have long since demonetized us and can't stand me, and part of me doesn't blame them. As long as these contracts include that, not even for me, but the next person, I wouldn't take $1 billion. And certainly not if you understand in context, when behind closed doors, I know, and these people know, and acknowledge exactly what's being done to the next generation of creators.
Bench talent, young talent, they don't get deals like this.
So they don't get deals that...
They can be wage slaves for a little bit, come over and make a salary and grow their brand.
that you then own.
Well, I own parts of it. I don't own it. They can...
He didn't say they come... Okay, one of y'all came in and said he calls them a wage... We gonna go back.
That...
They can be wage slaves for a little bit, come over and make a salary and grow their brand.
So he said wage slaves a little bit, you come over, make a salary, grow their band. If you smaller, what's the salary? That's what I want to know. Because you talking about wage slaves. Because I promise you, if it's a small content creator and you be like, yeah, minimum wage an hour, but you can grow your brand here, I'd be like, I'm good.
that you then own.
Well, I own parts of it. I don't own it. They can, when their contract's up, they can still go out and they'll still be famous. They can keep doing their shows, so go do a show somewhere else. They'll be in a far, far, far better place. You helped make them.
No, not longer at this contract. This contract owns it in perpetuity even after the contract. You're paying a lease but getting ownership. That's what this contract reads.
On the content that we paid to produce, yes.
You know, look, I understand there are going to be differing opinions on this. I understand that. As someone who does run a business and has I think maybe 25 employees, I don't know, we're expanding. I understand people run businesses differently and have different priorities. Here's the thing. I would genuinely still, Daily Wire, Jeremy, love to sit down at the table and explain to you how you can make all of this work, how you can scale what we do and not have to...
Hold on. To sit there and be like, guys, we can still sit down at the table and make this work. They've moved on, bro. You outing them? Now you're recording this phone call. Now you're doing all of this. This is very scummy. They're not going to sit back down at a table with you. You're telling them they're running their business wrong. It sounds like for somebody that says this isn't about money, you thinking about that 50 million a lot. This sounds like it's about the money. You trying to sit down at that table and be like, yeah, we could make this work for that 50 mil. Nah, bro, that's over.
To be beholden to the people
That's done.
We all go out and claim that we're fighting.
They're not sitting down with you,
And especially with all of the financial resources that you have, which, by the way, are very impressive. And by the way, since fielding requests for people who've sent this in you guys are under these kinds of contracts, right? You've sent in your emails. If you're looking to either join a network or looking to navigate these contracts, we've been flooded. I'm going to try and get to all of you. But here's the thing. Let me give you my word right now. My word.
These contracts?
Everyone, you can timestamp it, call me on it. Here at Mug Club, we will never take any ownership over your social media platforms or your channels, and I don't want a dime ever of your YouTube revenue. You make your own decision as to whether you want to be monetized or not. Some people want to, some people don't. I just have a problem with requiring that you do and penalizing you.
How do you make, so okay, that's cool. Cool concept, right? How are you going to make money as a network? And you gonna push all these people out for free? I mean, if you are, kudos to you, that's dope. But how are you gonna make money as a business?
If you don't. And to Daily Wire, to the rest of the people out there, give me a call. And
that's not
look,
happening.
Let me put it this way.
That's not happening.
If you give me your word, this is all that matters here. Just give me your word that there will never be a clause in a contract again for some unsuspecting kid or someone who doesn't have the luxury to walk away from $50 million, as I did, true, guilty as charged. Give me your word that you will not penalize them 25% for demonetization, another 20% for a strike, another 20% for Facebook, Spotify, Apple, up to 80%. Just give me your word that that clause, that spirit will not be in any contract sent out to anyone else who's at the front lines fighting for this country, and we're done. All of this stops right now. You will never hear from me again. I will go out and sing your praises. You can pick up the phone. You have my word. That's all it is. That's all this is about.
Didn't he just say, hold on. Didn't he just say, call me so we can sit down and talk because we can make this work? And now at the very end, he's just like, it's just for the clause for, listen to me because it's not about me. It's about the other people. But didn't you just say like 2-3 minutes ago you wanted to sit down with them so y'all can make it work together, so y'all can still work together? That ship done sailed, bro. It's over. It's over. That's crazy. Run your business the way I say and we could be friends again. Yeah, that's crazy.
In the interim, to everyone else,
that's crazy.
StopBigCon.com. Be a signatory. I'll see you Monday. Tim Pool.
Nah, he sounds pressed that he passed on that 50 mil without even realizing it was just a term sheet he can negotiate for more. That's wild. That's crazy. That's crazy. I like both. I watch Steven Crowder and I watch Daily Wire. So as long as they keep putting out content I like, I'm going to continue to watch both. That's never going to stop. But I gotta call Steven out on this. He sounded a little off right now. And then to sit there and because in the first video he dropped an email. It was creators@loudwithcrowder.com. He said if you are interested, because he was thinking about creating his own network. And he was like, if you're interested, hit the email, yada yada yada. So to now sit in this video and be like, well, we got a lot of people that hit me up about their contracts and how to navigate it. First off, I wouldn't trust him to ever navigate a contract. He couldn't even navigate his own, which is wild. You get a lawyer for anything, right? It don't matter what the contract is. You get a lawyer to go over all that, just so you can fully understand what's written out in front of you, and then you go from there. So that was kind of crazy he said that. But to want to start your own network and be like, I promise y'all, I'll never take your monetization for this, I'll never take your monetization for that. Cool. But as a business, as the network that's going to run all these media personalities under you, how are you making money? How are you getting paid? If you straight up don't want to get paid, make money off your creators, your hosts, how are you making money? Because now you have to pay for everything. You have to pay for the infrastructure, servers, right? Websites. Whoever he claimed he don't want anybody to touch the social media. Whoever runs all of that. How are you making money to pay the bills to keep things functioning? Yeah. I understand that he claims he has his own business. And it's like, yeah, you hire people to help run your show because you don't trust anybody else to produce your show. That's vastly different from running an actual business and a network. That's completely different. I just want to know how he gonna make money off of that. That's all. By charging them to create an account with him, it's gonna have to be. Either he's gonna be charging them or he's gonna be charging the audience more than whatever they pay for Mug Club, because I don't pay for that. So I have no idea. But actually, let's look into it. How much is Mug Club? Mug Club Forever. Oh, that page don't even work. Okay. Is there a way to get into Mug Club here? Nope, it's just an email address. All right, well, I don't even know how that works. I don't even know what people pay to get that content. All right, good business structures. Good business structure. I will say this, because I like both. He put the email out for the creators. I'm going to email him. I know I'm a tiny channel myself. I'm going to email him, and I'm going to be like, hey, I'm a Christian conservative content creator on YouTube, yada, yada, yada. What's this you were talking about in network? I just want to see what they got to say. I just want to see what they got to say. Because, like I said, nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. But that was all 3 videos. That's all I really wanted to do with you guys. I'm going to go ahead and hop off and get up out of here, enjoy the rest of my night. Because, like I said, this was an impromptu stream. I wasn't planning on doing this at all. But I appreciate everybody that stopped by. Thank you for joining me tonight. Be praying for you, saying. I be praying for y'all too, man. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. I be praying for y'all too. Good night. Have a good night to all y'all. Have a blessed week. Have a wonderful weekend. And for those that go to church on Sunday, I hope y'all have a beautiful church service. And I will see y'all with some videos for tomorrow and also for church Sundays on Sunday. Also, Leon, I saw his name up earlier. Are you still in here? Before I leave real quick. Leon, if you are in here, say hi or something. He probably left because he was way in here like maybe an hour ago. Yeah, I don't see nothing. Alright, because I was going to say if he's in here, I would have let it run real quick so he can catch the L and Fall Guys real quick. But it's cool. I'll hop off. I'll enjoy my night. Smooth Sounds, thank you, Admiral. Thank you for stopping through. I'll see y'all Monday for the next live stream at 7 p.m. EST like we always do. Thank you for joining me. Y'all have a blessed evening. I'm gonna be praying for y'all.
Can you lose by following